Welcome, one and all, to yet another episode of WIC TV. It's a cross-ideological space where we come together to talk about issues both political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. And gang, we've got a bit of a show for you today, okay? We are going to be talking about racism, and from an angle that is not often discussed in these spaces. Anti-white racism. Is it actually an issue? Is the left, quote unquote, guilty of indulging or minimizing or just simply ignoring anti-white racism in its midst? We've got some great guests to discuss it, and I'm excited to get started. I'm going to give the mic first to Bree Lives. How do you say your name? I'm sorry.
Bree Lives is fine, but you can just call me Bree. That's
Okay,
also
Bree. Go
also
ahead.
works.
Give us your thoughts.
Yeah, I don't think anti-white racism is a significant problem on the left at all. While I don't think you need that power and prejudice distinction to have racism, so you can be racist against white people. I don't think it's a significant problem, and to the degree it is a problem, it's a perception problem with narratives from conservative media, conservative politicians who are suspiciously sometimes very anti-black racist, anti-immigrant racist in a lot of ways. Not to say that makes the argument saying white racism is not a problem, but I think it's a little suspicious.
Okay, well, thanks for being here, and I'm sure we'll get into it as we go. Get Money Dre, what are your thoughts? Go ahead.
When I saw this topic, this sounded really ridiculous. Anti-white racism is as real as the Tooth Fairy or the Easter Bunny, okay? Completely fake. Maybe there's some individual prejudice towards white people or whatever that some people fringe have. But people forget to realize that white people are the ones that run the left just like the ones that run the right. You see major left-wing content creators like Destiny or Hassan Piker, Wick even. They're white as snow. And you see some of the politicians like Joe Biden, Ossoff, even there's more diversity with Harris or Hakeem Jeffries. There's still the Democrat Party in America, which is the left-wing party, is still mostly white. The higher leadership is mostly white. Anti-white racism is just not real. I don't know. I'm trying to be professional here, but the only real perception, as Bree says, is from the right wing that calls the left wing anti-white racism for calling out the anti-black racism on their side.
Okay. Well, thank you for being
Shut
here.
up, cracker.
I'm on Twitch, you motherfucker. We can't actually say that.
Hold on. Listen, I'm not white, so it's fine.
Boy.
I'm allowed.
Fair enough. Dev, you have the opening statement. Go ahead.
Jimmy not white.
Yes.
You sound white
yeah.
as hell.
Of course I do, but I'm not. I'm mixed, actually. I'm white and Native American. More Native American than Elizabeth Warren, in fact. So, but you know what? I am white passing, so I do get some degrees of white privilege, I guess we could say.
Hold on. Stop.
Yeah.
We're doing opening.
Opening statement. Sorry. Yes.
Go ahead, Dev.
So yes, anti-white racism is absolutely a problem on the left. I reject the P+P definition. I think it's fucking retarded. But also, I don't think it's a problem necessarily, or it is a lessening problem in the Democratic Party by the way, I'm happy to go by the Taylor Lorenz definition of putting the Democratic Party in the center. I'm happy to just talk about the actual left and not, the pro-capitalist Democrats. The actual left, the people who are further to the left than the Democratic Party, they have a serious anti-white racism problem. But the Democrats themselves, they are thank God, after 10 years of begging, they're purging themselves of that terrible influence. But the left itself, yeah, it absolutely has an anti-white racism problem.
Okay, well, thank you for being here. We'll get into it as we go. Next up, Tali, please.
Hello. Thank you for having me for this discussion, Wick. This is going to be pretty interesting. I'm glad that that my opposition has such different perspectives. So there'll be different avenues to go down here. But yes, as Dev said, anti-white racism, bias towards white people, hostility towards white people is absolutely a pervasive problem on the left. This is not unique to America, but America certainly has contributed to even exporting some of this, to the larger Anglosphere. I agree that there are nefarious actors on the right who overblow this, who call it something much larger than it is. I don't believe that there's a white genocide or anything even remotely approximating that, but there is open, accepted hostility against white people. And it's basically the only type of racism, along with maybe anti-Semitism in some circles, that is still socially acceptable on the left in America today. And arguably, the reason that anti-Semitism is so acceptable on the left in America today is because the Jews are seen as white people and therefore part of the unfair, oppressive power structure in our country. And so I'm glad that we're going to talk about this today.
Okay, and talk about it. What we will. So I guess like the first question, and I'm gonna give it to Dre. Do you mind if I just call you Dre?
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, Dre. You say it's not real. What do you mean? Can you elaborate on why you think anti-white racism isn't real?
There's not like a major anti-white like prejudice. I mean, the closest, as I'll give it to Tally, is anti-Semitism that has been kind of normalized-ish on some parts of the left. But I'm talking about the far left here in general. I know Dev said that the Democrats are more center, which I do agree with that. If you look at major creators in the far left too, they're typically Wonder Bread white, or like even like people with I'm sorry, I'm trying to find the words. People who are like more leftist leaning DSA types. They're upper middle class suburbanites, upper to upper middle
That's
class
where you
suburbanite white
see
people.
that's where you see some of the most virulent anti-white racism coming from. So
Coming from the white
anti-white
people?
racism.
Oh
Yeah,
yes, absolutely.
absolutely.
Self-hating whites are a big thing, yeah, on the left.
Yes.
Really?
They're arguably the biggest driver of this, especially the type that we're talking about. I mean, there is some really ugly anti-whiteness that you see in like some segments of the Black community, but even that, calling it left wing is kind of wrong, because oftentimes these are like Nation of Islam and Black Hebrew Israelite followers, and it's really hard to like legitimately call followers of these belief systems left wing. So most of the anti-white racism is perpetuated at least by white people. So this is not simply a problem of brown and Black people.
But so it's not really a prejudice against white people. White people are doing it themselves. It's just some virtue signaling stuff to try to appease Black people, because that's what they think they'll appease Black people. Because again, most of these
that's
DSA
actually very
types
interesting.
have
So
been around.
Let him finish. Let him finish, and you can
Yeah, go
respond.
ahead.
No
Go
problem.
ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. All right. Many of these left-wing, far-left DSA types don't know any Black people. They have negative preconceived notions of Black people or brown people, and they think that virtue signaling, because they think that Black people like want to kill every white person or something just because they're white or whatever.
What you said at the start of that is kind of interesting. Like, do you think that people cannot be racist towards their own race?
I maybe have like internal prejudice, but like not like a virulent hatred of race, like violent hatred of their own race. Like
You really think so? Really?
There's definitely
a-
a self-hatred going on.
there are
little bit.
self-hating people, but like I don't think a white dude
Like, there's no
wakes
Uncle
up.
Ruckuses around.
Do you think Candace Owens is racist against Black people?
Give you an example, but not Candace herself, but I will give you an example. I'm not sure if you heard of this guy called Andre Williams or whatever. He's the closest to being a self-hating Black person.
I have no idea.
Okay, so at the very least, you acknowledge that at bare minimum, of N equals 1, you acknowledge that it is possible to be prejudiced against your own racial group.
Not to have preconceived notions, but to have like some sort of prejudice against your group. I'm willing to admit that.
What would the difference?
I don't understand the
between
distinction between prejudice and
racism in this
preconceived
case?
notions here.
A white person who's never seen a Black person crosses the street because of some racist stereotype that they think said black person is going to rob them or whatever.
I mean, I can just
Like a Candace Owens, Uncle Ruckus type. No, that's not true, but has
Okay.
prejudice towards their own belief.
I want to give it to Bree for a moment. Go ahead.
I mean, I
Okay.
could just off the top of my head think of like one instance you could possibly have of intra-black community racism of like upper class black people, or the long tradition of maybe like selling out your own race a little bit to get ahead, right? That's kind of been a stereotype for a long time. Even that, I mean, in conversation, but like looking down on like maybe lower class black people, if not like, why can't they get out? I mean, there's conservative black people for a long time. Like,
Well, to be
Yeah,
clear, Bree, you are here.
they will racialize the behaviors of lower class blacks, and then to distance themselves, they'll like act white. I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I get it.
I guess Bree, like, so you probably don't 100% agree with your partner here that racism to white
Bree is
doesn't exist.
based.
But you're here to defend the idea that it's really not an issue or not something that's serious on the left. Can you elaborate on that? Maybe we can get into that.
I think this is just an isolated like imaging problem of like constantly people on like the far left, whether that's people who are academics in positions of like academic power, maybe at like university chairs, things like this. People who have large followings on Twitter, having their message projected as this is what the Democratic Party, this is what the left believes. Like conservative messaging has put that out there forever. I mean, how long have we heard about reverse racism being a problem? I remember hearing that as like a teenager. So I just don't
I do
think
agree with
yeah.
that.
an actual
I
issue.
agree with that.
Like,
Yes.
I think it's some white people perceive that there is anti-white racism. I don't see that there's any like statistical data where this backs up. It's just vibes, whereas like anti-Semitism, anti-black racism, there's like statistics where you can prove this out.
Actual statistics.
I'm not going to say that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that
Sorry
like
about that.
the perception and vibes aren't a huge deal. I mean, we saw the 2024 election. Donald Trump won because of vibes. But I don't know how we deal with Republicans and conservative unhinged people who are racist as fuck and white supremacists. I mean, I listened to Matt Walsh the other day. Like, I just opened up that thing about the Northern Ireland stabbing, and Jesus Christ, that is unhinged in like the first like 2 minutes. And like,
Is that
these
the
are
Henry
people
Nowak story?
Yeah.
No, it's
no, not the other one. There's another one that was like in Northern
Oh, geez, there's
Ireland.
another one. Okay. I haven't kept
And
up.
it was
it's like racism riots in
immigrant
Northern
or
Ireland.
like something, but he was like this like filthy African or what, like that type of language. I mean, we had the vice president and like the president talking about Haitians eating cats and dogs.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
compared to
Well, and so I agree. Listen, I agree that these things are not necessarily apples and oranges. And I also agree with, I think the premise that you just laid out and what Dev said at the top, which is these things are much more pervasive outside of like elected Democratic officials. So I think there's going to be large agreement here that even if many of them or some of them were doing some major virtue signaling during like peak woke during the BLM era, most of them are not purveyors of anti-white racism. But I think something that you acknowledged about just how pervasive this is in places like academia and in the online activism space. I think if you acknowledge that, then it is downplaying to say that this is not a pervasive problem, because these are our cultural institutions that have a large influence on people in this country. And so, yes, I agree. There are Republican officials and people part of the commentariat who are just blatantly racist and who spew racism against Black people or different shades of brown people. But you had similar things with prominent people in left-wing institutions who would espouse these things against white people, and it is excused away by the institutions that would never excuse it if it were done. Like the New York Times, for example, would never condone or explain away the video that you were watching yesterday by Matt Walsh. But they added someone to their editorial board a couple of years ago who was tweeting out things like abolish white people and kill all white people and stuff like that. So
Did you
it
send me
is
the
taken as
person?
not as serious. And
What was the person's name?
she was
I'm
an
gonna search
Asian.
him.
She was an Asian woman, maybe Nicole something. I don't remember her last name off the top of my head.
Let's see.
Yeah, no, you should go look into it. And it was excused away as, you know, these are just tweets and whatever. And I think that's what it is. It's not taken as seriously. And I mean, also to your point, I think that we've unfortunately, a lot of the reactionary kind of white identity politics that we're seeing on the right, I do view as a reaction to a lot of the anti-white sentiment that was so pervasive on the left that I agree has died down a lot. You know, Robin DiAngelo is not a central figure of any left-wing movements now, but she
Thank God.
was. And thank God,
Gives my
I
old
agree. I
college
think
a
we're
bad name.
moving.
Since
There you
when
go.
was
I think
Robin
we're moving in
DiAngelo
the
at
right
center of any
direction.
activism ever?
In the late
During
2010s,
during
she
the
was
BLM,
pretty high
of
profile.
course she was.
Late-
She
late
was on
2010s,
every
yeah.
single person who was tweeting out their book list. She was being hired by all the different universities and media institutions and everything to do DEI training for their staff. So this was absolutely
She's white as
at the
hell.
height of the.
She's white
Yeah,
as
Yes.
hell.
like
Oh my god.
self-hating white lady.
She is.
from,
It
like,
You're gonna
doesn't
have
actually
to
matter.
stop being surprised by this. Yeah. Right, you're white, which was the most surprising
to
part about you
read
turning
the-
on your camera
Oh,
today.
I'm like,
so.
I'm half, but yeah.
You said you were
I am-
75% before we went live on stream.
I'm a
now
quarter
he's
Asian,
trying to
quarter
up
black,
his
half
black
white.
card, guys.
Quarter
I mean, it looks like he's got the bonnet on. I trust him.
My hair's
Okay,
off
you do not
today,
get the
so I won't
pass,
take it off.
by the way. For the word, no, we
I'm
will
not
not
gonna
let
s-
be having
I'm
that.
not. I don't say the word anyway, but
I guess my
I'm half white, quarter Asian, quarter black.
just real
for those
quick,
that
just real quick.
are doing
I
their
want
homework.
a question for Dev and Tali though. If you both acknowledge that it is getting better, right, and it is less pervasive than it has been, it seems to be that these things are being taken care of on the left, and so if they're being taken care of, wouldn't it be pretty accurate to say it's not that big of a deal anymore?
Well, I'm not sure they're being taken care of on the left, but the Democrats are taking care of it, at least in their spaces. And frankly, that's the only thing I care about, because fuck the left. I don't give a shit about the left. They can just burn. They're always going to be
also-
retarded, I think.
Yeah, and the Dems are moving away. Listen, I'm not trying to cast too many aspersions on the Dems because I really don't believe that like all of them are bought into this very specific and I would say harmful worldview. But I think a lot of the Dems moving away from this is an optical thing. There was you know, Trump won, there was sort of a cultural backlash. And so, you know, if we can encompass this in wokeness, a word that everyone, you know, likes to use and misuse, wokeness has not died, right? And so I don't think that this sentiment has gone away, even if, to Dev's point, the, you know, left-wing political institutions, at least in this country, are not professing it anymore, but they're also not rejecting it, and which I don't necessarily expect them to do. But it's not like there's people coming out and saying we really got this wrong. We were really sowing more division than we were uniting people, and so I'm not confident that this is going away.
Well, hold on a second, Tally, because I'm pretty sure Gavin Newsom recently said that exact same thing. Not necessarily for
So
race,
he
but like
has.
he came out and he said something like, yeah, the trans women and women's sports thing, that was ridiculous. The DEI stuff was ridiculous. No one likes us. We got to change this. And it's like, yeah, it's true. It was ridiculous. You do got to change it, and it's good they are.
Yeah. So
Into the-
listen, I mean, just the other day, I mentioned Gavin Newsom because I also agree, much to the chagrin of a lot of right-wing people. I think like he is kind of like the most. I don't think he actually believes a lot of this stuff. I think he is going to likely moderate more than other Dems who might be running in 2028. But I don't take any one thing that he says like on his podcast, you know, to be golden, because he's walked back a lot of the things already that he said on his podcast, because he gets a lot of backlash from people on the left for saying. So that's another thing too, Dev. So while even if I were to agree that he said that and meant it, I'm not sure exactly how much he meant it. The sort of evidence is in the pudding there, because even when he says something like that, he receives a ton of backlash from
The proof is in
his-
the pudding. First of all,
ostensibly his supporters.
And second of all,
Yeah.
I guess the whole idea is, do we trust Gavin Newsom when he says something? I don't know if we do. Like, is he doing it just
Don't
for
trust any
Bitcoin
politician.
Well,
by the way.
I
politics?
trust he
don't
wants
know.
to get elected, and I think the Democrats, they want to get elected more than anything, and they will abandon woke garbage if it gets him elected. I think, yeah.
I guess. Well, I guess that's the question. Like, will abandoning the woke garbage, quote unquote, get people elected now, or is there still something that people on the left have to do, kind of pointedly ignore if they want to be able to win a primary. Let me ask this to Dre. Do you think that a politician who is running for a Democratic seat, right, who is on the left, do you think that they shouldn't decry or denounce people who are saying things like eliminate whiteness or we don't want white people in power anymore, those things?
I do want to speak about this.
Go ahead.
First of all, obviously, the Democrats should cast a big tent to get everyone they can in. Don't waste your time trying to chase individual, but like try to get everyone in, whether they're white, black, brown, yellow, red, green, purple, whatever. Get them in. If like they shouldn't necessarily not run a white person just because of wokeness or whatever. One who you think is going to win. Like the number one priority for the Democrats is to win the election in 28, because people were really fucking stupid and voted for the serial rapist again in 24. For
That wasn't his question, though, right?
Yeah, but let me rephrase it. I'm sorry.
No, I'll just ask the question again. So say
I'm
there's
sorry.
a bunch of people who are chanting like "Death to Whitey," right? Or
Death
"We
to
don't like
crackers or whatever.
whites," or "We don't want
No
whites
honkies,
in
no
our
male
positions
monkeys,
of
no
power
that
anymore."
stuff.
Do you think? Can I ask a question? Do you think that
Yeah, absolutely.
that Democratic politician should denounce those people and should say, "Hey, we don't talk like that here. We
Yeah, of
love our white
course.
brothers and
Denounce.
sisters."
Yeah, denounce like hatred towards anybody. Obviously, yes. I would to answer your question. Yes, denounce that, but that's not happening in droves. It's not a problem. It's not like maybe some fringe idiots saying this or another or that, but like I don't see any like mass no whiteys, no
So
honky.
you're right that it's not you're right. It is fringe people who are saying things like abolish whiteness, right? And making the much more extreme and disgusting,
Yes.
comments and claims. However, I think if we turn the frame slightly, like if we are to use the sort of left-wing definition of racism, and by that I don't mean power and prejudice, but I mean like all the things that are supposed to to fall under that, like in the realm of like microaggressions and hostility and biases and prejudice against people, that is pervasive, I think, on the left, because I think it's an incorrect worldview that a lot of people on the left have absorbed. So you're right. It's a very small number of people on the left who believe or are going to say, whiteness is the worst thing, whatever. But there are a lot of people on the left who believe we live in a really racist country, and, we should be doing everything in our power to make sure that brown and black people are elevated, into positions of power, even if that means that we have to change standards, even if that means that we have to disadvantage other people. There are these historic wrongs that never seem to end, and we as a society have a responsibility to fix these things. And that type of belief system bleeds into prejudice and bias against white people, even if it's not like flaming hate, in the same way that I think you would acknowledge that you don't have to be walking down the street saying, kill all black people to be racist, prejudice, bias against black people. There's lots of things below that threshold that you could do that we would all recognize as like, damn, that guy really doesn't like black people.
I mean, a lot of what you said is like true, though, right? This country still has a enduring current history of racism and white supremacy. Like it hasn't gone away. It's
I don't know what
different.
that means enduring current history, though.
Well, like enduring to the current like times. It's still
Meaning that
here.
the
It's not as bad, but it still
I don't
exists.
think it's like anywhere even nearly as bad, and to even like put it in the same boat to like mark it as one continuous thing does a disservice to the actual progress that we have made as a country. In some
But
ways it like hurts the cause of the left because it's a denial of the actual progression.
We'd
but what it
have
is now
progressed
is worse
since. I'm
than
sorry.
anti-white racism, right?
What
They're
is
Like
asking
now?
you.
even that like
They're asking
diminished.
you. The question is, and this is to you, Tully. Which do you think is worse in America right now? Anti-white racism or racism against minorities such as black people, Indians, etc.?
I mean, I'm not going to say that it's hard too, because when you group all of these things together, like white people versus prejudice against all other groups, then yeah,
anti-black racism
potentially
is
against
like
So
like
let's just stick with anti-black racism then.
I think that anti-white racism is much more acceptable than anti-black racism. So whether that means that it's more
Wasn't the
pervasive or not, and anti-black racism has gone like underground because it's not socially acceptable, I think that it's much more socially acceptable to discriminate against white people and to exhibit bias against white people than it is to exhibit bias against black people.
Have you
I
seen
honestly don't
Twitter
know
recently?
if I'm trying to like read. Yes, I
Like,
don't. Oh well, Twitter is a racist cesspool. I agree. There's lots of racist.
even like
people
some
out
of our
there.
own
I'm
government
absolutely not
officials are
going to
doing,
deny
saying
that.
racist shit against black people openly.
and
Racist
an
shit against
advocate.
like
Can you
some
give
of
us an
our own
example of that?
government
Hold on,
members.
Dre. Give us an example that we can chew on.
As Bree said earlier, Haitians are eating dogs and cats. That's one. Another was the repeal of the Voting Rights Act in the Supreme Court that happened very recently. Another was when Trump called
I mean, that's not.
Somalia a
That's-
shithole country.
Not like
Saying that
anti-black
Somalia-
racism.
Let's be honest. It is a shithole country, though. Somalia fucking sucks.
Yeah, Somalia is a shithole
Somalia is not
country.
a great
Saying the
country.
Haitians are eating the cats and dogs, that was just out of pocket. That was racist, unnecessary propaganda. It's okay
President
to call
Trump
Somalia a
said-
shithole country. And the
Trump-
Voting Rights
also,
Act,
I'll be
overturning the
exact-
Voting
I'll be
Rights Act
exact.
is not inherently a racist act.
He didn't necessarily. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase
mean-
that. President Trump's actual quote: "Countries like Somalia, they have virtually no government, no military. All they do go around and killing each other. Then they come to our country and tell us how to run our country." Somalians don't tell
So,
Americans how
here's
to
the
run
thing,
their country.
So that's a very crude statement, but it is accurate to Somalia's current political situation.
The virtually no government is accurate. Yeah, I'll say it's accurate.
And there's tons
Is
of
it
tribal
racist
violence.
if we don't want them?
They do run around. There's tons of tribal
But the end of
violence in
the quote was,
Somalia.
we
There's
don't
more
want them.
diplomatic ways to say it than it's a
Saying-
shithole country.
But you
Obviously,
understand. You
obviously,
understand.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
we
hold on.
don't
We
look
don't-
to Trump for diplomacy.
I understand, but
Yeah,
I guess
Americans are
I
really
still
dumb.
want Dev and Tolly. I asked Tolly, maybe Dev, you have a clearer answer.
What's up?
Today in America, which do you think is worse, anti-white racism or anti-black racism?
Anti-black, obviously.
Okay, so why are we
Yeah.
talking about anti-white racism today then? Because Dev, you were the one who wanted to
Because
to
you
yap about
set it up. You set this up.
You asked me to.
He did
No,
say
I
that,
didn't.
right?
Did,
It's
oh,
not
I
guarantee you I
asked
obvious
you
to
if
me
you
that
wanted to have a panel. on this, so
I
it might-
think you
that-
asked me too.
that
That's why
might
we're
be
talking about
true.
today because you set it up. I was
But
like, yeah, I'll
what?
talk
Well,
about
I guess
this.
why
You
are
asked-
you
you
here
asked me
defending it
also.
then?
Sorry, what?
Why are you here to
Because you invited me.
opine about anti-white racism when anti-black racism is worse?
It's still bad. I mean, like this. In my opinion, anti-white racism is real. It's a problem. It should not be happening. We should be devoting some energy to try to fix it, or at least counteract it narratively. But is it like in the top 10 of problems that need to be solved right now? No, it's not.
I'm checking to make sure to see which one of us.
You're scrolling
actually-
through our DMs, aren't you?
Yeah. Give me a second. I need to make sure because I very well might have. This might have been a thing I
You
did.
asked me too.
But go ahead, Tom.
Anti-white racism is a problem and something that we need to be talking about because it takes us further away. Because again, all of us here agree that anti-black racism is unacceptable and is a problem that should be taken seriously, whether this is interpersonally or at the government level or activist level or whatever. The reason that we need to talk about anti-white racism is because this is a problem that we have not acknowledged as a society, and it is one of the few things that is still keeping us away from accepting a colorblind approach toward race relations in this country.
Okay, so
Which I-
here's a
I
just to
wonder
just
if
to
Dev and
correct
I are the
record,
only ones
Dev.
who want.
You posted a bunch of examples of anti-white racism, went on a screed
Uh-huh.
about it, and then
I
I said,
did.
"Do you want to do a show on this?" And you said, "Yes."
That was you asking me.
No, this is unprompted.
No, I was just talking to you.
Yes, about anti-white racism.
Okay, hold on. Let me scroll up now so I
Yeah.
understand what we're talking about.
I'm
here.
looking at
Jesus
it right
Christ.
now.
Okay, hold on. Let's go. I'm scrolling.
Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. To the anti-white racism.
Oh, no. Yeah, that's right. So no, I asked you about the. I said, have you seen this shit?
And then you
And I
posted a
started
bunch of
showing
stuff.
you stuff about the Carmelo Anthony trial. If you guys know what that story is, and I was like, this is fucking
Yep.
insane. And you said you hadn't seen it, Wick.
I
So I
had
started sending you stuff. Yeah, And so I say right now the discourse on the right is about the Carmelo Anthony protests. And if you don't know that case, a black kid stabbed and killed a white kid. It's pretty clear cut the black kid's in the wrong. He got jailed for 35 years. And Black Lives Matter people are still protesting for the black kid. And I said this is ridiculous, and I gave you a bunch of examples.
Let's stop there. Let's stop there because I think that's a good point. But first of all,
Okay.
yes, I was right. You were the one who were prompting me to do this. You were psyching me up into asking you to be a panel, so I was correct on that. So,
But wait, hold on. I was okay. I was sending you these things just to talk to you about it.
You can't talk about a controversial topic to a panel host, okay, Dev? It's called.
I mean, you can. I
called
like
a
it. It's a
submission.
good panel thing. But like, if Tali started sending me a bunch of articles on something that happened that was very controversial around Jewish women, and I'd be like, yeah, you want to do a show about this? That's what I would ask because that's what I assume she's wanting to do. Anyway, but that
No, wait,
aside,
I need to I need to clear my name here. I sent you all the things. We had our non-content conversation as private friends, and then you posted on Twitter the call for the show, and then said if I can find some folks for this, I want to throw you in to fight them. That's what you
Yes.
said specifically.
Yes,
So no,
because-
this is your show, not mine.
look, we. Anyway, sorry. This is
I mean, if
an
this was
aside.
the-
You guys are seeing how the sausage is made, but he absolutely was he. You know, he was wearing a short skirt. He absolutely wanted it.
Oh, I see.
okay?
I see how it
He
is.
Absolutely.
Well,
wanted
okay,
it. But
here. Let's actually talk about the case that kicked off.
That's what I wanted
yeah,
to ask. That's what I wanted
Yes.
to ask the other panelists.
I have thoughts.
Do you think?
on
Hold,
that.
just but let me ask it. I want to ask Bree and Dre.
Absolutely.
Do you think that it's a problem the way that the black community or some people in the black community have handled this case?
If you know what it is, by the way, if the audience.
Yeah,
knows
the
what it is.
Carmelo Anthony. Yep, I'm gonna the Carmelo Anthony case. We're talking about the
Yes,
Metcalf.
yes.
Okay. Some fringe people, yes. In general, no. The reason people are upset is because Carmelo Anthony, some would argue, didn't get the fairest of trials. Like the media, the media had it out for him since the incident happened. There's no video of the incident, by the way. There is no video. There's no video that could be seen. Secondly, that was the fact that he got charged with first-degree murder, even though that he and Metcalf never even met each other until the incident. First-degree murder would be a premeditated crime. I have serious doubts that this was premeditated. Again, we don't know the whole jury process and the whole intricacies and whatever, but I find it really difficult to believe that a 35-year sentence for a kid with no prior criminal history is a little bit absurd. By the way, he was a kid. He was 17 when the incident happened. So that could be,
Okay.
and
If that's your
that could
position,
be-
that's your position. What about you, Bree? Before we let Dev and Tali go, what are your thoughts? First of all, are you familiar with the case?
I'm familiar with the case.
Okay.
I also coach track, so when I saw it, I was like, "Holy shit! I have to read about this." I'm not in Texas, obviously, but and then kind of saw this new stuff about the trial recently. Looks like the defense kind of was not the witnesses they called weren't the greatest from what little bit I've read on it. But I think the reason that I think black people are upset, or the black community is upset, is for some of the reasons that Dre mentioned. That I think first-degree murder is a little weird. I don't know the Texas statutes in particular, but seeing how this is supposedly a stand your ground case in some other cases, I mean, they've been pretty crazy about stand your ground with some white defendants getting away with some crazy shit. I know it's Florida, but the whole Trayvon Martin thing, even though there was a conflict before that, but still, there's been plenty of cases where stand your grounds have been involved for white defendants, and it seems not to have been in place here. You can argue that's because the defense was bad or whatever. I just also don't think premeditated really gets there. I don't know what Texas's murder law is specifically, but probably more like second degree. I think it's also bad for him anyway. Probably should have pled guilty. You're bringing a knife to a school event where there's not supposed to be knives. I mean, I think the story can be ambiguous from certain perspectives.
charge for that, sure. The knife, sure. A charge for a knife, maybe, sure.
Well, still, second degree would be
like manslaughter or
anything of
second degree,
reckless.
yeah. But
is
like
where I'm
first degree
coming.
murder?
Yeah, first degree is crazy.
Come the fuck on.
I agree with you there. First degree is a little wild. Especially, I don't know what the premeditation requirement is in Texas. That's the only caveat I'll give. Knowing generally that, like, I mean, premeditation can happen in like a couple seconds, but I mean, based on what I've read of the situation, I don't think it was
Okay.
a premeditated incident.
Why do you guys think, and this is to Tali or to Dev specifically, but Tali, I'm also curious as well if you're familiar with the case. What is your understanding of the case, and why do you think the reaction to it's an example of anti-white racism? Go ahead.
So, like when I'm thinking about it, they're probably right in that first degree murder was probably too harsh of a charge. However, this guy absolutely should be locked up. He's not innocent. He everyone knows he stabbed this kid in the chest. He killed him. He should be in jail for some period of time. If you believe that anti-black racism led to him receiving a harsher sentence, well, maybe he should be in jail for 25 years instead of 35, because fuck this guy. Okay? But here. The actual conversation is not necessarily. He has 35, right? He got sentenced for 35 years.
Could have
35,
gotten
but
he could have
25?
gotten up he could have gotten up to
I'd argue maybe
99, by
10.
the way. So
I'd argue
35,
maybe
35.
For in a
10?
just
He
society.
got 30 he
10,
got
15.
35
No,
years
absolutely not.
with the possibility of parole after 17 years, considering that he could have
Similar
gotten up
case.
to
Wait,
99 years.
hold on. What would you guys think?
That's barred
Hold on,
over the years,
hold on.
guys.
What would you guys think if a black kid had get stabbed by a white boy, and then the judge only gave him 10 years?
Look
If
at the, again,
circumstances are the same,
Yeah.
Circumstances are the
then
exact same.
I'd feel the exact same way. Yeah.
I don't believe you. None of you. I don't.
Yeah, me neither.
The exact same.
I don't believe
everything is
you.
the exact
Hold on.
same.
Hold on.
Well, let me answer the
Couple
question.
things.
Okay, so because
yeah.
here's the thing. So the actual question here, Wick, is not necessarily about the case itself. It's about the community reaction to the case, and I think that's the more important part, at least, of this panel. So I'm gonna send you something here, Wick, real quick, and I would
You want
like
me
you
to show
to
it
bring
on
it
screen?
up. I would like you to bring it up on screen. Okay, so
DM it to me.
I would like you to tell us who this person is based on their bio, and then read off what they posted here. Okay.
You want me to show it on screen or read it?
Well, show it and then read it.
Like a random
Okay.
tweeter? Or like someone who's actually. Let me watch
You
this
guys can
right
watch too. Hold on. You can
I'm
click
gonna
the.
watch.
Let me
Oh,
make
okay.
it big for you.
Oh my god, that's really big. Well,
Ooh,
here,
yeah.
since
Yeah,
it is.
since
Okay.
We're
since you
scrolling
can
down
no
or
longer
whatever.
see the bio, I'll just read it real quick here. So this is Bernice King, the CEO of the Martin Luther King Jr. Center for Nonviolent Social Change. I think this is a descendant of King's or a relative. Connector, communicator, community builder. This person has like nearly 1 million followers. This person's actually very influential in these sort of activist spaces. So go ahead.
I'll read it out. Carmelo Anthony,
Okay.
a black teenager, has been sentenced to 35 years in prison after being convicted by a jury with no black jurors. Whatever one believes about the verdict itself, we cannot ignore the larger truth that many Americans are wrestling with. Justice is still being administered through a system with a long history of racial disparity in sentencing and punishment. This requires more than reaction. It requires moral honesty about who is deemed dangerous, whose pain is centered, and how different accountability has often been applied in America. If we want justice worthy of its name, it cannot be shaped by race. Hashtag Carmelo Anthony. And then it's just a post with the same thing.
Yeah, and her signature, yeah. So like this, I mean, this is a person who very clearly has media training, so it's not anything overt, but it's very clear. This person is very clearly sweeping, I think. And by the way, if you actually changed up the races of the people involved, and then this was like a white activist posting the exact same thing, everyone would say this is a white racist. Everyone would say that.
Yeah, I think it was particularly despicable, the line about whose pain we choose to center. Even if she believes that's an issue, trying to center anyone's pain but the family of Austin Metcalf, the murder trial of Austin Metcalf, is, I think, pretty despicable. I don't know if anyone else had reactions to Bernice King, but I have a few things to say on the trial.
Any thoughts
Okay.
of Dre?
Well, I guess my point then,
Oh, Bernice King,
to just finish that off, Wick, my point here is that the reason I view this as some sort of like not necessarily overt but subtle anti-white racism is because if you flip the races in the event and then flip the races of the activists, this would absolutely be viewed as anti-black racism, and it's not even contestable.
I don't see what was really wrong with that tweet other than like timing. Like
Maybe the
it's
timing was
right
off,
after
yeah.
here. But I mean, what about it was that objectionable? And like also, can you really reverse the races in the situation unless we're saying we go back hundreds of years and we have this historic legacy of blacks ruling over whites and all black juries convicting white people for decades? I mean, I know in this
But this
case
is the
it wasn't
problem.
that specifically like black jurors were available. They were struck for what I read. It seemed like they were educators. They didn't want educators in the jury. I mean, whether you want to argue there was animus behind that, you can't prove it. Even especially because Supreme Court can't, so we could throw that out. But like, I
See,
think
I
Well, the
understand your
timing was
defense
bad
also
about this tweet.
Well, I understand your position, right? The issue is that you can't necessarily appeal to the long history when talking about racism here and now. And this is kind of where I have that big objection with the leftist view of racism, right?
Yes.
Because, like, yeah, okay, if you're discriminating against a white person, if you're being racist towards a white person, and then you say, well, it's actually not that big of a deal, I don't really see it, for here's a historic reason as to why, to me, that's unacceptable.
Do you think there's a difference between the negative impacts that affect an individual or a group because of their race is different when it affects people because the system is no longer privileging them, or negative impacts when the system is now targeting that group for discrimination?
That is
No, but because
absolutely
you're
a
talking
variable.
about people.
Please let me answer just real quick. That's absolutely a variable. However, that variable alone is not the entire equation. Even though we can talk about the historic part of this, the fact that like, it doesn't wipe out anti-white racism is what I'm trying to say. It doesn't disappear.
No, but it makes it
But also,
significantly
you
different.
can't. But you can't look through everything through the lens of, like Dev said, of like the long history of America. Because even when you're talking about the what, to answer Dev's question, you have to say, okay, well, which one is worse, right? The person who loses some of their privilege. White people and black people and brown people of all shades and in between are not the sum total of their ancestors. So the specific white person that you might be talking about in a case of anti-white discrimination did not feel the privileges that maybe some of their ancestors felt, 150 years ago or 100 years ago or 75 years ago, even depending on where in the country we're talking about.
I mean,
These people should
people.
not be they should not be penalized for some type of purported privilege that one of their ancestors may or may not have had. And the same thing goes for black people too. So no, every act of discrimination against a black person does not suddenly have some larger effect on them than an act of discrimination against some individual white
Well, let
person,
me-
and they shouldn't be treated differently on
Well,
that basis.
Yeah, I'm gonna
That
let
is
Dre go
racist
in a
in and of
second.
itself.
I'm gonna let Dre go in a second, but I have a question. Then I got to get to some super chats, and we'll go back to the discussion at hand.
I want to make one more comment about the trial if I can. Before
Yeah,
we move
one
off
more
of that.
comment quickly. Oh, are you not gonna make it now? Okay, fair enough.
Oh, sorry. Now. Oh, sorry. I didn't know you meant right now. I didn't make a comment on what we were talking about earlier, but number one, premeditation. Courts have upheld that premeditation can form in seconds. So premeditation doesn't mean that you planned this for days, months, anything like that. And in Texas, they don't do a distinction between first-degree murder and second-degree murder. I'm not a lawyer, but my understanding is they have like murder and manslaughter and like accidental killing and things like this. So they don't have the same system set up for how they would delineate these crimes.
Okay, and this is to Dre and to Bree. If someone, say Trump does get convicted one day of his crimes for January 6th,
Yes.
bribery or accepting bribes, corruption, all that, and his defense and people who are defending him point out that, wait, there were no white people on the jury. Do you think that person pointing that out might be racist? If you had to guess.
I mean, that's a
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's-
I'm just
pretty
gonna
obvious.
say
It's not
yes.
hypothetically true, but the thing is, that's not going to happen. If there's a trial of Trump, there will not be any white people.
There might be a bunch of,
Okay.
like, it depends on the venue, honestly. If you go to
Knowing the
DC,
people
if they do it in
who-
No,
other,
there's
other
going to
venues,
be
it's
white
very
people
possible.
at least one white person on the jury. There's going to be white people on the jury. Like that's what's going to happen.
I'm asking you if there happened to not be, just because based on the jury selection, and that someone points out that there was only a couple white people and most of the jury wasn't white. Do you think that would be a racist statement to make?
Probably not.
Probably not. You wouldn't think that person's a racist in any
I
way,
mean,
shape,
I
or
wouldn't
form.
think that person was a racist. I wouldn't think, because statistically speaking, if there's, I mean, ignoring the fact that there's going to be white people in the jury, they're typically going to find people with, I don't know, less bias to the case, for lack of a better word. I don't know. A lot of white people statistically support Trump. Statistically, white people voted for Trump.
Oh,
They probably have some sort of
Okay. I mean, that's...
allegiance. The point of jury selection is to get non-biased jurors.
And you think that only
And-
white people can be non-biased towards Trump?
No, only white people would be more biased towards Trump.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
That's why the either the leftist white people like
Okay.
want to kill him or whatever.
I think it's
or
obviously a racist.
Dre
Dre is very
I don't know about this
comfortable
one, Chief.
essentializing people on the basis of their race. That's why
I
he
don't-
took this route.
I don't. Okay, we're going. Okay, let me get to these. Okay, I don't know if I can do this. Let me read some of these super chats.
White people are more biased towards Trump, statistically speaking. Trump won the white vote all the times he's ran, and the white people on the left typically can't stand
It's
that.
just in their fucking DNA, isn't it?
Actually,
pick him 'cause he was a
arguably,
They got some
based-
orange
What are we
Cheeto
talking
dust
about?
mixed in.
if we're gonna do the essentializing here, which I would not be
I'm
in
not
favor
trying
of
to
at all, but if we're
essentialize
gonna
it. I
do
promise. you.
okay, but if we're gonna
exactly
do
what you're doing.
I'm not
if we're gonna
trying
do
to,
Dre's
bro.
favorite game, hold on. Let me just make a point. If we're gonna do Dre's favorite game of racial essentializing, then actually it's very likely that Black people would be far more biased on a jury for a trial of Donald Trump, because yes, white people voted the majority in a majority for Trump, but it was a way higher majority, a much larger margin of Black people who voted against Trump. So if we're talking about biases that entire races of people may have, then yeah, Trump's team should work to make sure that there are no Black people on that jury, I guess.
Okay,
Okay,
here,
let me read
Dre-
some of
Dre-
these super
Dre.
chats, and then we'll get into it.
Well, here, this will take me 30 seconds. I
30
promise.
seconds.
You,
Go
okay.
ahead.
Okay,
Cool.
so Dre, I want you to understand something here real quick, just so you know what I'm trying to say. Have you
course.
seen those posts from like from like white nationalist accounts on Twitter where they'll post a picture of George Floyd and the caption will be like "LOL, you're dead" or something? I'm sure you've seen those floating around, right?
Oh, I've seen many of that shit. Yeah. I've
Oh,
seen
yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of those.
Would you call those racist?
Oh God, yeah.
Absolutely. And you know what? I completely 100% agree with you, okay? So here, Wick, pull this up real quick, please.
Okay, give me a second.
Okay, so it's the exact same thing. It's the white kid who is dead. Is this racist?
This. I would say yes.
You would say it's
Typically,
anti-white racism. Yes.
I would say that this is anti-white racist. Yes, but the question in the entire debate is anti-white racism a problem on the left? This is just some idiot posting at LMAO I'm dead with. It's
true.
it's bad
He is-
disrespectful.
so he
it's
is-
bad disrespectful to Metcalf.
So this guy, he calls himself the Black Tucker Carlson. He's a social media influencer. He has a decent sized
He's a guy
following.
on Twitter. Yeah.
He is a black nationalist. He's a journalist. He's not like he's definitely smaller than the previous account that I pulled up, but he's not necessarily a nobody. We could say he's a mid-level influencer. And
To
yeah,
be
like
fair,
this
though-
guy's very
Level.
cool.
Like in
Yeah.
in his
I
defense,
mean, he's
he
Mhm.
is responding
mid-level.
to.
Of course he is.
to
Yes.
this.
Yes. These are two
Twitter-wise,
different.
yes, he has-
These are two different racists fighting each other. Yes. But I mean, also if you scrolled up one more tweet, hold on, just wait.
Sorry.
If you scrolled up one more tweet, Wick, he says, "I hate all white people."
Oh,
In
hold on, let me
the
share
previous
that, 'cause
tweet.
that is true.
Yeah, if you scroll, yeah, right there. So like, I think the argument of does the left have an anti-white racism problem? I think that's settled at this point. The answer is yes. We can quibble over how much of a problem it is and how much time we should devote to solving it. But is there a problem? Yes.
But if that problem is not that big of a deal, is it? I mean, I'll grant that electorally, this is certainly a problem, but like actually being a problem, yeah, not that.
Well, what do you mean by
I
actually
think
being a
it's
problem?
actually a problem. It's actually a
it's-
problem because racism is bad, right? And we should be trying to minimize people's racist attitudes as much as possible.
But is it?
So
Hold on.
it is
Sorry.
bad. It is a problem, and we should care about it, even if it's not the most pressing problem.
The problem about racism is it how racist is it? Racism is like a spectrum. Like
You
how
said it's like real on the
black
left.
racism are
Do
you
you think
willing
that
to
guy's on the
tolerate?
left? Do you think the Black Tucker Carlson Jr. is on the left? You said is anti-white
Yes.
racism a real issue on the left?
Yes, I think he's on the left. Yes,
Yes.
In what way?
I'd take him as a leftist for sure. Wait, do you think? Okay, do you think he's a
I
right
do
winger?
not think I don't think he's left or right wing.
The
He
secret
calls himself a
Thursday.
Black American nationalist.
Yeah.
I hardly think a leftist would call themselves a nationalist in any
A
form.
Black
And-
American
and-
nationalist? You don't think the leftists would call themselves a Black American nationalist?
Every time I've
No.
encountered a black nationalist, they've been heavily left wing.
They're very socialist in a lot of ways. Yeah. Okay.
I can,
Let me
I-
read some of these.
I
super
agree that
chats.
it's complicated, though.
Really?
Yeah,
Some-
let's
sorry.
read some of these super chats.
I've been in Nation of Islam temples, and they do not call themselves left wing or leftist or liberals or.
That's
Nation
that's
of
true.
Islam is a
That-
different
you've
thing.
been in
Yeah.
you've been in some of the most racist temples in this country. Then literally more racist than the crazy anti-black whatever churches that you guys talk about in the South. Nation of Islam is like despicably racist.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
caricatures that they make of white people.
Testy Johnson has paid me $10 to read the following messages. At least we agree all Jews are white.
I mean, no,
Happy-
obviously not.
Happy Juneteenth.
No.
Let's discuss anti-white
Happy Juneteenth,
racism.
everyone.
And then finally, white lives matter. Thank you
funny.
for the $10. $5 from Zontar Dow. In Canada and a lot of European nations, white-on-white racism is not only real, but still a thing. Why would we expect America to be different?
I mean, listen, the left is crazier in Canada and Europe than it is in America for sure. That's just the truth.
Sure. $5 from Festiva. Whoa, base dev racism, based. Crack it harder, white boy. Where's my second Skullgirls video, you round hack?
I should probably actually do that now. Now I think the case just finished up. I should probably do that.
$5 more from Testicle Johnson. How does the panel feel about replacing Black History Month with White History Month to help address these?
That's the
systemic
other
issues?
11 months. People usually only teach white history in school. Black
What is
Oh my
what,
God, dude.
what is white history? Again, it's all of this racial essentializing. You are feeding the problem that we have, Dre.
I mean, typically, people complain about Black History Month, not realizing it's the shortest month of the fucking year, and white people still complain.
Okay.
I said there's a half.
$10 from
Why-
Oh,
Dirty
dude,
Deeds.
I don't know what this.
Yeah, $10 from Dirty Deeds to say, I join and the first thing I hear is Minecraft all white people in the affirmative. I love you, Wick. That made my day. $5 from Gelatinous Rube. It's deeply disrespectful to have an anti-white Jewish woman represent white people here. Immaculately curated rage bait. Thank you for another banger, Wick.
Wait, who's that?
It's, Nelson, Gelatinous Rube. Tolly's
No, who-
second
A
biggest
huge
hater.
boner. He's talking about me. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yes. Him
Yeah.
and Soy Pill.
I'm the anti-white person on this panel.
Where
Yeah.
where they think up ways to hate on poor Tally here. $2 from Headless Chicken. The great replacement can't happen soon enough. $2 from Testicle Johnson. Poor kids are
Anti-white
just as smart
racism.
as white kids. $5 from J-Ray. A Supreme Court justice opinion literally said you could use stereotypes to detain immigration suspects.
That's bad, obviously. Yeah, don't agree.
$10 from Spark to Philly. I'm a liberal and pro BLM as a movement, not the organization specifically. But what is the good faith argument as to why Carmelo Anthony stabbed Austin Metcalf? How is his sentence racist?
I don't
Great
think it is.
question. Disproportionate, like different sentencing for black kids and white kids. A similar case happened when 18-year-old Kaysen Allen went into high school and stabbed a kid in the bathroom. He was guilty of criminally negligent homicide. He got 10 years.
Can you give us the link to that so I can look at it?
Yeah, when is that?
Yep.
Well, what day did it happen?
It happened in Texas. But
Yeah, no,
I'll
what?
give you that.
When? Like this year? Last year? 10 years ago? 100 years ago?
2022.
Okay, fair enough. Few
So,
years ago.
It's not
Fairly
ancient
recent.
history.
Yeah, fairly recent. Okay.
Let's give you
Uh,
the
$10
find a
from
good one.
Deej Nuts. They got the first-degree murder because witnesses claimed premeditation from Carmelo was inviting conflict. Quote, touch me and find out. Try and move me, end quote, while his hand was in his bag.
That before or after
There were also
people were pressing
multiple.
him?
Oh, that was before. That was before anyone laid their hands on him. And there were also multiple witnesses who said that Austin Metcalf said to him, in response to him saying, like, try it, fight me, whatever, he said, I'm not going to fight you at a track meet, which also just completely ruins the self-defense claim because this person was not attempting to attack you, made it clear verbally that they are not going to get into a physical altercation with you. And then he whipped a knife out of his bag when he was in a place where he wasn't meant to be. And again, like this team that
What do you mean he
the
wasn't meant to
Metcalf
be? He
brothers
was
were
at a
on
track meet.
under the tent of the opposite team, already incredibly bizarre behavior. If you've been around
No,
like
it's
any
not.
type of high,
Nope.
yes, it is.
I coach
It
track.
literally
It is not. I coach high
Okay,
school
it-
track.
Okay, well, according to the coach of that high school track team, not only was it incredibly unusual behavior, but he had specifically asked Austin to take the head role to monitor what was going on in the tent because it was a home game and he had other responsibilities. He had to go help the food vendors and stuff. So he had specifically asked Austin to do that, and it was protocol for their team at their school that you did not mix with the other team under the tents. You keep them separated. From every sport that I've ever played, that would be not someone walking over. You know someone from the other school, you're saying hi, but going down, sitting down on the other team's bench in their tent and then refusing to move when they ask you to is absolutely
Get a
not
security
typical
guard, a
behavior at
teacher,
a
and
track meet.
administrator. That would be
Not
the
not
proper
typical
thing to
behavior.
do.
Not typical. Okay, well, it's not like Austin Metcalf started fighting him. He asked him to leave and then tried to move him out of the way when he wouldn't leave.
Which would be
None of that
initiating
is none of that is
How
acceptable.
did that movement happen if there's witnesses on the defense state saying that they
There's
were
no video.
pressing him? Like, then there's an arguable case for self-defense, which would be affirmative,
Not for
especially to
lethal
stand your ground test.
self-defense. Not for that type of lethal force. Again,
it
especially
depends on what
after
you
the
get
We
person
never
said,
saw the
I
video.
am
There's no
not
video.
going to fight you here. I agree there's no video. Did you know that we've actually been convicting people of murder since before we could video record things? I'm not
Yes.
sure if you're aware of that, Gray.
Yes. We have.
Okay, great.
We
So
have.
there not being video is not pertinent here. There were
Saying
tons of
there was a-
witnesses because it took place in a tent.
Okay. $5 from Adam Milne. For the whole panel, what does racism include and exclude? Are we talking about racist violence, microaggressions, hiring practice, racist jokes, more?
All of the above, really. Which is why I think when you put it in that context, obviously anti-white racism is real. If we're looking only at like specific targeted discrimination
Sure.
in the law against white people, that's going to be much less.
Yeah, let me ask Bree. Do you think it would be racist if I said, hey, I'm going to start a company, but I don't want to hire any white people for my company. I only want to hire non-whites. Would that be racism?
Yeah.
Would that be acceptable to you?
Pretty sure we have laws against that, so it's unacceptable.
Do we have laws against that?
You can't discriminate by race in hiring. Isn't that the Civil Rights Act?
If I had a show, if I put on a show and I said I only want black people on my show, would that be, first of all, racist? And would that be illegal?
It could be racist depending on the context of the show.
Yeah, all black
and
everything.
It
I wanted
wouldn't
to
be
steal Prem Guy's
illegal.
idea, and I want to do an all black everything panel. And I want to start hosting, and no white people. We're just gonna have black people on.
What would the context of? I mean, it would depend on like what you'd be talking about on the show. If it was
Black people. issues.
all black people talking about I hate white people, then yeah, it'd be racist. If it was like all this like microaggression shit, it might be racist. If it's like talking about black issues, it's probably not racist. And it's in any case definitely legal because it's a group of people and we have a pretty strong First Amendment protection. You are broadcasting speech, so it probably wouldn't be illegal. Just like how
Fair enough.
racism generally isn't illegal, like in the historic cases when they have like the KKK being protected by like the ACLU or like fire defending pretty unsavory characters for speech concerns. So
Here's a question from Mega Laglag for $10 for the panel, because this might come up. But should Austin Metcalf's father be disavowed for referring to Carmelo Anthony as a watermelon felon?
That's actually kind of funny. I'm not gonna
Where
lie.
did he say
what's
that?
what's
He did say that.
the whole
It's-
context?
He did say that.
What's the quote?
Sorry, where? Yeah, where?
I don't know the whole quote. They just super chatted me. I don't even know if
Listen-
it's real.
Listen, I like edgy racist shit like that, so that's funny to me. Like here's the thing.
Sounds like
his
some
kid-
like
I don't find
Trayvon
that funny.
Martini shit from like
His-
back in the day. Jesus.
his kid was killed. I'm gonna cut him some fucking slack.
I'm looking it up
I-
now. Hold on.
He has every right to hate Carmelo Anthony, sure, but he probably had racist beliefs before the incident happened. And
Like,
How
why
the
are you
fuck do you know
smearing
that?
this man?
What the
Yeah,
fuck,
what is
dude?
wrong with you, Dre?
So
Jesus
apparently-
Christ.
Apparently, I'm
he's-
seeing
he-
several
he's pro-
articles
Metcalf's
saying that
probably
this did
racist before
happen.
the incident. Yeah,
Um,
it happened. I'm pull
Okay,
up right now.
wait. Real quick, Dre. Okay, so you're not a racist guy, right, Dre?
Of course not.
Of course. So let's say a black person kills your child, all right? Are you
Yes.
seriously going to sit here and say, even in private, you're not going to make like some kind of remark because fuck that guy? Really? I don't believe you.
I'm gonna hate the guy who killed my child. Sure. I'm
But
not
you're
gonna
not-
say
Would you call him the
watermelon
N-word?
felon or any racist shit. Fuck no.
I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't believe you. I think having lost a child, you would grow enough hate in your heart, and
I would
rightfully
not.
so.
Nope.
Okay, all right, sure. I don't believe you, but okay.
should someone speak out? So say someone's child got killed, and while they were getting
hate the guy who
killed, they
killed my
called the
child,
person who doing it the N-word. After the funeral, after all that's been obviously taken care of, do you think people should take that person aside and say, "Hey, you shouldn't have called this person the N-word in this instance"?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to slightly disagree with Dev.
understand,
Like,
but,
I
like-
think, yeah, I think his pain is obviously understandable. And I think that was compounded by the way that Carmelo Anthony's parents have been speaking about the trial and speaking about his son and all of that stuff. So I think, you know, he's probably he's sort of reacting to that, but I think that's completely unacceptable. I don't think that the man should lose, you know, that his life should be ruined, that he should be arrested or anything for talking like that. But that's racist and completely unnecessary, and I think weakens the righteous, his, you know, the sort of righteous cause there. That's an unnecessary thing to say. And this is not me virtue signaling either, Dev, but I don't think that I would feel inclined to make a racialized comment like that in professing how much I hate the person who killed my child.
Okay.
But again, I mean, and not that it makes it okay, but people are using, you know, he's watching the deluge of people making anti-white racialized comments about his family and his kid and all of that. But I think calling him a watermelon felon is just completely unnecessary.
Fair enough.
I don't find it funny either.
Durla Merge for $10 to address the no black jurors question. Several potential black jurors were interviewed after they were disqualified and stated they wouldn't have convicted a black person. I also
Wow.
don't know if that's true.
Yikes.
I have heard that, and I don't know if it's true in this case, but I do know that it was confirmed to be a fact back during the O.J. Simpson trial. I don't know if you heard about that, but it came out years later that the black members of the jury was like, "Yep, we wanted revenge for the Rodney King stuff, so we will not actually we will not allow OJ to go to jail." And it's like, that's fucking ridiculous. That's insane.
Yeah, you would, if saying something like that would disqualify you from a jury. Yeah, because you
They
have
said it afterwards.
five-
They kept it secret because they were smart.
Okay,
the jurors on the case said that.
after the case.
Yeah, they
yes,
said
so
it
that's
after the case was over. Yeah.
Quantum Fantasy.
I don't I have serious doubts about that. Again, I don't know too much about the OJ case, but
We're sensing a pattern here.
That was a
Okay.
that was a pervasive opinion amongst, again, I hate to even say the Black community because it's not like there's like a one single thought between all Black people in America, but that was a pervasive sentiment amongst Black people across the country. Was that this was a time of solidarity, and yes, that they believed that even if he was guilty, basically he shouldn't have gone to jail.
It wasn't the
This was
whole like
expressed
thing, like,
openly and stated plainly.
like this is we're gonna celebrate because like for once that like the system that like lets clearly guilty white people off pretty semi-routinely finally let a Black guy who was clearly guilty off. Yeah, I thought that was
I mean,
what the
these-
sentiment was about.
These are both bad things, though.
It's not good, it's understandable.
I don't know.
Okay.
Quantum Fantasy for 20 month, a 20-month member. Wow. I've been here too long. The basement is cold. No, you're staying down there, man. Another 20 months for you after that comment. Okay. And only a tier 1 membership? What the fuck are you doing? I have 3 tiers of membership and you chose 1? Wow. Yep. 20 more months in the basement. Okay. $5.
3 sets of stairs that gotta go up.
True. My listening library for $5. Top right. Is it more or less racist if the white jury is from New York rather than Mississippi? Would that be different to you?
is me.
Yeah, that you're the top right.
Oh,
Regarding Trump,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It would depend on the individual jurors they interview, but in like I think statistically, probably, but I mean it would depend on the individual jurors they interview. And
$5 for
think a-
Parallax. Honky is one of the top 5 funniest words in the English language. Anti-right
It is.
racism is silly.
it is.
Okay, $5 from Durla Murgy. It's less that there's a racism problem on the left. It's there. But there's racism problem in the Black community. $5 from Mega Laglag.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think so.
True.
I'm going to
There-
do a
there
litmus
is.
test for
No,
people's
there's not.
understanding of self-defense. What do we think of the Kyle Rittenhouse house case?
Obvious self-defense, yeah.
Yeah, self-defense.
And just completely different from the Carmelo Anthony situation, but yes, self-defense.
What about you, Dre?
The Kyle Rittenhouse case, I would technically say that it would be. I watched the video and I read the trial. Yeah, I would have technically let him off self-defense there.
Okay. Durla Murgy, thank you for another $5. What is the panel's response to the fact that white people are the only group without white-only fraternities, scholarships, clubs, or political lobbies?
Wow.
It's called the Republican Party.
I don't know about that. There are Black conservatives, like you said.
What power do they have in the Republican Party?
Here's the
We got
thing,
Tim
like
Scott.
I as a liberal, I'm kind of against like the Black versions of these things anyway. But if you are gonna have Black only clubs, you should have white only clubs.
Although I don't think you should, though, right? So, like, I don't think that we should, because this is sort of the problem that I am trying to raise, is that this obsession and focus on race is unhealthy. If we want people to stop discriminating on people on the basis of race, then we should all stop discriminating on the basis of race. So I understand the sentiment, and yes, like I want equality, and I think pointing out where there is hypocrisy can be, a powerful tool in doing this, but I don't think the answer should be white affinity groups, because by the way, we're seeing some version of that, which I do think is directly related to the sort of, BIPOC affinity group movement, etc., and the anti-white racism that came with that we're seeing a very ugly white identitarian movement right now manifest. I don't want to give safe haven to any of these racial essentializers.
I think the reason that one of those types of groups, like all Black fraternities or whatever, are okay and all white ones are generally not okay, is because like all Black groups or all one race groups of minority groups is kind of different than all white.
What's the difference?
All one race. Because generally, when white people are segregating themselves off and talking about racial pride, it's generally because they hate Black people. And other races, and when other groups do, they don't. Granted, I don't want any groups getting together that are racist and
They
hating
definitely do.
people.
God,
By
I
the way,
got-
they definitely do.
I got. Can I say something that's cool with y'all? Generally, historically black fraternities and historically black colleges were started as a way of kind of like because black people were barred from historically white fraternities, historically white colleges, and stuff like that. There are white members of historically black fraternities and white students of historically black colleges. White people, as far as I'm concerned, were allowed at BSUs, including mostly like more white than I am. I'm more white than I am black. I was allowed at my school's BSU, and I think any other white person would have been allowed, even on like anyway. I don't think black student unions and black colleges and black fraternities discriminate against white people. They were started as a way to kind of give black people the experience that they were excluded on from historically white fraternities, education systems,
Sure.
things like that.
I
Yeah, I
understand
agree.
that.
I agree with you on that. But I mean, there are absolutely black nationalist groups right now that exclude white people and hate white people, and that's unacceptable.
Like private groups, I mean, people, discriminating is.
Well, them being private does not necessarily make it good, right? Unless you think that private white groups that hate black people are good.
It doesn't
Obviously
make it
not.
good. No, private groups that hate anyone is not good.
Yeah.
I agree
Okay.
with you there.
Okay, $2 from Parallax. I would definitely call that person the N-word. Cool. $5 from Deej Nuts. Austin's dad tried to pray with the Anthony family, and they kicked him out and called him racist and swatted his family. Again, don't know if that's
Is that
true.
true?
I don't know.
Family
People
swatted
super
the
chat
other
me
family
things.
directly.
I'm gonna need a.
This isn't.
Well,
Like, I don't have
yeah,
a setting that
I'm
they
gonna
have
need
to
a
tell the
source.
truth on the super chat.
when I looked into the case, both fathers of both kids ended up losing their jobs because both of them got swatted. And their workplaces were harassed and all of it. Both of them. So
That's pretty bad.
Swatting is bad. Swatting is bad.
$2. Parallax. Peckerwood is another silly white slur. Okay.
is it really?
I don't know.
Oh, never heard of that before.
Peckerwood?
I don't know.
Peckerwood was started.
I don't
mean,
know. $5 from Testicle
I think
Johnson.
I know the original. I don't
Sure.
think I know the originating of that word.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, let me keep going.
Go
Five-
ahead. Go.
$5
use
from
it,
Testicle
yes.
Johnson. Wick, you once said one drop is a drop too many. Could you elaborate? Yes, one drop of urine in my lemonade is a drop too many. There will be no drops of urine in my lemonade. There you go. And then $5 more from Ying Wiz. Trump won Tally's vote with open bigotry towards Somalis and Haitians. Why the finger wagging when her exposed preference is racist scapegoating?
Oh my god. Tally, it's the same conversation again. Let's have it.
I know I've never had this conversation before. Very interesting. That was bad. Actually, luckily, we already got to get to the Haitian thing in this conversation. So I already got to pre-denounce. I preempted that super chat.
Fair enough. Okay. Super chats. We are at least through the ones that we've gotten so far. Give me more. But I guess, here's a problem.
Well, actually, I've got something for us, Wick, because
Oh.
this will build that I think we should actually get back to. So
Go.
you brought up, Dre, you brought up the Case and Allison case, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So during the super chats, I had the opportunity to look it up. What happened was Case and Allison he was in a high school. He got jumped by a high school gang of Latinos. Okay, they were kicking the shit out of him in the washroom. Kaysen whips out a knife and stabs one of them and kills him because he was getting jumped and he was getting the shit kicked out of him. So he was charged with negligent homicide, which carries like a 6-month
He got 10
sentence or
years.
something.
I mean,
Well, here's the thing. He got 10 years ultimately because they added a deadly weapon stipulation to it. But he was initially only had 6 months on the table. So we might even say that that this guy, Case and Allison, he got a raw deal.
It's punished too
because-
harshly.
Because Jesus Christ, if you're getting the
you could-
shit
you-
kicked out of you
yeah.
by a gang of other people, and then you stab one of them in self-defense, you shouldn't be going to jail at all, in my opinion.
Okay, but yeah. I would
So,
say
Dev, you're
that's
saying it's
acceptable,
nothing
but
like the
I'm saying
Carmelo
it's
Anthony
proportional.
situation?
It is nothing like the Carmelo Anthony case, no.
Got it. So not proportional at all to the Carmelo Anthony situation. I agree.
No.
I don't know the
Especially they're in
case,
a
so I'll take your
confined
word for it.
space. They're in a confined space in the bathroom, right? Not outside, where Carmelo Anthony had the option of just completely walking away and disengaging from the confrontation, unlike this guy who was being
How did
jumped
you
in a
give it a treat,
bathroom with
though?
the door closed.
Yep.
Sorry?
You can argue that Carmelo was fearing for his life, and that Austin
Then he
Metcalf
could
was
have gotten up
going
and walked away, right? Like
There's no
similar to
duty to
how
retreat in
Kyle
Texas.
Rittenhouse was like
Wasn't it
literally
raining
running
outside? He
away.
didn't want to. I mean, technically, he could have gotten away, but the
He
reason
was
he was under
hold
the
on. He
tent
was
because it was
scared for
raining.
his life. Wait. You just proffered that he was scared for his life.
You
but
guys
the reason
said
he
you
could
could
not run
argue
away.
that.
Dre. That okay? But that's your argument that he was so scared for his life that he needed to stab him. But the reason that he could not flee from the situation is because it was raining.
Yeah, the reason he got under the tent.
Who do
in
you
general
expect
was
that
because
to be compelling to?
I'm saying that could have been an argument.
Okay, wait, Dre,
It's
listen,
a very
okay?
bad
Maybe I-
one.
Hold on, Dre. I want you to just listen to me, okay? As somebody else who has recently been on this show and said things he didn't mean due to getting emotionally heated and too invested in a conversation, it's okay to simply say that this was not the way you wanted this to go and to back off of the point, okay?
Sure.
Okay.
I
Allow
will
me to
admit
rescue.
I
Allow
really
me
needed
to
the
rescue
vacation.
you the way that I should have been rescued. Let's say.
Okay. I
Yeah.
guess my question though is this is for Tolly and Dev. So let's assume that there is a problem of white racism on the left, right? Or anti-white racism, I should say. What do you suggest we do about it that we're not already doing?
I actually think what the Democrats are doing is the best thing to do, at least in the short term. The Democrats are expelling the progressive and the socialist influences within the party. They're sticking to just more mainline liberalism. That's a good thing. The crazies on the left, on some level, will always exist. They've existed for long before any of us were born. They'll probably exist long after we're all dead. The best thing liberals can do is just ice them out of real politics as much as possible. Now, if you actually want like to change the culture of things, that's going to involve non-progressives getting into media spaces, getting into academic spaces, and doing work there. But I think in the short term, everything is going as it should be.
What about you, Tolly?
Yeah, I think to make like an actual difference culturally, we need this stuff to be challenged at the university level. Basically, academia needs to make an investment in actual diversity of opinion, of thought, and maybe even like take another look at some of the programs that they have, and some of the things that they are teaching. I think at the individual level, to a certain extent, we need to be careful about the way that we treat this, the same way that there was a backlash to sort of anti-racism. I don't want to see the same backlash here, but I think like people can do a lot interpersonally. I think it really is just like totally it's been normalized in left-wing spaces to make white people the butt of the joke, and there's something that every individual can do, which is to just like stop laughing at that and be like, that's not necessary. And it's a small thing, but I think that like that type of interpersonal social pressure can go a long way, because I think that is how a lot of this. And listen, I'm biased by the places that I live in, right? And so we're all going to have different perspectives based on the communities that we're in and the people that we're around. But I live in a place, and I've always lived in places where this type of stuff was extremely normalized, and I think you can challenge a lot of that. The same way that like people that you would advise, people to deal with anti-black racism or whatever in their personal lives, like when it comes up, you kind of challenge it and throw people off their, you don't laugh and you say, what's supposed to be funny about that? Like what's the joke there? And just challenge it, even if softly, interpersonally, I think is sincerely what people should be doing, so that it's not so socially acceptable. Add some taboo.
Yeah, I think I agree with that as well. Like
Like
it-
when
liberals
someone calls
have.
someone a watermelon felon, you don't laugh at it, maybe?
Yeah.
I think that's a different situation because
Dev
of
failed.
the
Dev failed
context.
already.
No.
Wow.
I think that's a different situation based in the context of the guy's kid
Okay.
dying. I think in most other situations, though, yes, I would agree with that. Yeah.
Oh, fair enough. It wasn't your kid dying, to be clear. So, I mean, okay. Yeah, we're kind of I'm struggling here. Like we've kind of hit a wall. Well, let me ask this to Debris and to Dre. What's what's wrong with the advocacy of Tali and Dev here? What are they advocating for that you find is unnecessary, inappropriate, or what have you?
I want to make something clear. There's nothing wrong with what they're advocating for. I mean, we
Okay,
should
so
obviously
why?
treat people with respect and whatever. If I'm not mistaken, the initial topic of this panel is anti-racist white racism a real issue on the left? I would say it's not. I mean, again, like as Tally said, we're biased by the places we live in. I hear nothing of like anti-white racism or whatever. I hear nothing
Where do you
of that.
live?
I live in the Kansas City area.
Okay.
I mean, like,
And
I've been to Kansas City.
I live in a very
It's been a
diverse
while
area of
though,
the city.
so like
So
I couldn't speak to it too bad. I guess.
I can I finish
Go
my
ahead.
point? Wait,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Finish your thought.
I'm sorry. There's nothing wrong with advocating for tolerance of all people, whether they're white, black, brown, red, yellow, purple, orange, whatever. It's not like a terribly big problem. And of course, if you say like some bigoted stuff, you should obviously call out that obviously the Democratic Party needs to get focused on including everybody in. Obviously, I agree with Dev and Tally that as well. We should focus more or less on how do I say this properly? I apologize. Bringing new voices to the party, and
What about
ultimately,
racists?
well, not race. I mean, yeah, racist people who are bigoted. Obviously, we should try to make them not racist. Obviously,
Yeah, but like while we're doing that, why don't we just invite them in? They'll vote for us, right?
I mean, they're not going. Racists are not going to vote for Democrat.
Why not?
Objectively,
Well, yeah, because we keep
I mean,
kicking them out, right?
there's not to be some pretty crazy shit to happen, which could happen knowing this administration. We
Hold on.
need people to come
If we
together
could guarantee,
for one
if we can
America where
guarantee,
all Americans
if we can guarantee
can
a
live.
Democrat majority in the Senate, if we were just more racist to white people, would you do it?
If we were more racist to white people, it would
Yes,
be
yes.
Democrat.
In fact, our candidates all got
That's a
up on
silly question.
stage and started
Say
calling people
honkies, boo
slurs,
honkies,
white people
boo
specifically,
honkies.
and
They
say,
just say boo honkies everywhere.
I hate whitey, right? Would you
That's
do
a
it?
silly hypothetical, but
Yeah, but no, would you do it? Would you allow those people in, and would you give them succor, and would you advocate that we do this if it could guarantee you would win the Senate?
I'm obviously no. But the reason I paused there, obviously no. But the reason I paused there is because this administration, and the Republican Party is fucking up so bad that people on the left are desperate to do anything. I say no, but people on the left are desperate to do anything to win at this
Okay.
point because this administration's fucking up. Like
Fair enough.
the Republican Party is fucking crazy.
I'll just say yes.
Fuck
Fuck it. I'll steal. Yes, I'll bite the bullet. Yes. Listen, I'll take anti-white racist. I'll take anti-black racist. I don't give a shit. I just want the Democrats to win at this point.
Jesus.
I'm not courting them. I'll take
I'm
their
gonna-
votes though.
I'm gonna.
Yes, exactly.
That's good job. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bree.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pack the panel a little bit. Bring on a guy who has some issues with what Dev and Tali have been saying, and thinks
Oh my
that
God.
they can argue a little stronger. So I'll throw him in and see what they have to say. Headless Chicken, what's up?
Good afternoon. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Quick question, Hillis Chick. Are you running around with your head because you have your head cut off? Do chickens really run around with their head cut off, or is that
Yeah,
like a myth?
they can. If you don't lop off their head just right, you can leave a little piece of their brainstem left at the top of their spine, and they'll
Are you
run
running around
for a
right now
bit.
as we speak?
Maybe.
All right.
What if I was? How do you know I don't have a voice modulator on?
Okay.
That's a great
Regardless,
question, 'cause you're not on
regardless,
camera.
no, I don't care about this line of questioning. Headless Chicken,
I'm sorry.
you had some issues with Dev and Tali. Go ahead.
Actually, Deb, there's one thing that you said I do absolutely agree with. That if we had more anti-white racists in the party, I'd be okay, as so long as they help us win. That would be great with me. I don't think that anti-white racism is real in any way, shape, or form in this country. I think it's something that people who really want to be victims, like minorities generally tend to be in this country, they really want that status as well. And that's why you have all this faux moral outrage coming from a bunch of people who have it really fucking easy.
Well,
So,
why do you say that?
why do I say what part?
Why do you say that anti-white racism isn't real in any way, shape, or form?
It isn't real in any way, shape, or form. There's no power structures that exist to keep the white man down. There's none.
I mean, one, that's not necessarily true, but two, that's not an essential component of racism.
Give me one. Give me an example of one.
Well, here, you know what? I will simply say that there's none just for the sake of the conversation. That's not an essential component of racism.
I didn't say whether it was one way or the other, so I'm not sure what you're arguing here.
Wait, yes, you did. You just said that. You just
I
said
don't
that.
think anti-white racism exists in any real way.
Yes, and then I asked you why, and then you said because there's no power structure keeping white people down, and then I said there doesn't need to be. Power's
There
not.
can be people that hold absolutely racist tendencies towards white people. Absolutely. But there is no power structure to enforce it.
Yeah, the power structure is not necessary for it to be racist.
Okay.
So it's racism.
Okay.
So
It
there
is.
is anti-white racism. Yes.
It doesn't exist in any real way.
What do you mean?
Exactly what I said. It doesn't exist in any real way. If it
Yeah, but
existed in any
justify
real
that.
way,
Justify that. Like,
there would
expand
be
it out.
power structures. There would be power structures that exist to enforce it. There are not.
And I said power
Dev
structures are not
just
necessary.
explained.
They're not necessary.
I
for
understand.
racism.
You're saying that anti-white racism exists. Yes, I'm one of them. I fucking hate white people.
Even me.
But
Okay.
there are no
Wow.
structures
just
that
won.
exist.
So
Dev,
wait.
You don't need to
If-
respond, Dev. We just won.
Like, hold on, yeah.
Okay.
If you
Jesus.
you said anti-white racism doesn't exist, but you also just said you are an anti-white racist. So at the very least, it exists in you.
I didn't say it doesn't exist. I said it does not exist in any real way.
Are you not real?
Yes, I am real, but I am one person. I cannot enforce my will upon others.
You know what? I don't think
I
you're
mean,
real.
I can
actually.
in a
This
group.
has to be a troll.
That's
this
how
has
I
to be a
can
fucking
in a
troll,
group.
Wick.
So
Not
first
at
of all,
all.
I
Not at all.
promise
Not
you he's
even a little
trolling.
bit.
I know this
I-
guy.
not
I
even a
promise
little
you
bit.
This is a real position he
Okay.
has. I will vouch for him.
Okay.
I grew up out here in the South. I know what y'all's parties end up being. I know what they end up being. I know what flags y'all are flying outside your houses. I know what fucking flags you've got hiding in your goddamn
I mean,
garages. I
so-
don't hide
Sounds like
myself
you
from
have a
that
lot
shit.
of bias against white people.
I
so
sure
for-
as
Sharing
fuck
a lot
do,
of
and there's a
prejudice
very good
against white
fucking reason
people.
for it. There's a very good
Listen,
fucking reason for it.
A lot
This
of-
has
a
been
lot of
true
anti-black
from
racists-
from
a lot
Nebraska
of
down to
anti-black
Arkansas,
racists-
over to Kentucky,
In fact,
out to
I would
Virginia,
argue-
up to Maryland,
I would
all of
argue,
it. There has
Mr.
not been
Chicken.
one space in this country where this shit has not held true. Not one spot in the
Okay, so
entire
I would
nation.
argue, Mr. Chicken, arguably all
Mr.
racists
Chicken.
think that their racism is justified by the bad behavior of their object of contempt. So
Well, gee,
you
thanks,
believing that
Captain
your
Obvious.
racism is justified. Hold on, you believing that your racism against white people is justified makes you just like every other racist. They all think that they are on a righteous crusade against the bad
I'm not
people,
on a
the
crusade.
oppressive people.
I'm just talking shit about people I think are abhorrent. I don't want them rounded up and gassed.
Okay, wait. Here, just real quick. Okay.
No, you're right. It's only racism if you Holocaust. This is true. Heard that once.
So just out of curiosity,
I guess there's no racism in America against black people then. Wow, base. I didn't realize that was the threshold. is rounding people up and
There's
gassing
all
them.
sorts of examples I could show of
We-
us rounding up
we've done a
people
lot,
that
Dad.
murder en masse. So, you know.
Okay, while
But,
while we get our bearings, I'm gonna read some more super chats.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
This is just
$10.
how Wick makes money. He brings on the most ridiculous fucking bullshit just to
Look.
bring in some more supers.
I am dead fucking serious.
He's not-
White
he's
people
not
fucking
kidding.
suck.
He's not
Dude,
kidding.
these white
Wait,
people we hate
wait.
vote for Republicans.
Headless chicken. You mentioned flags. What flag do you think is flying outside my house?
I don't know who I'm speaking with right now.
It's Dev.
Dev? I'm guessing a US flag, maybe.
Well, you mentioned flags like as if it was going to be a Confederate flag or something, right?
Canadian.
I'm
I
fucking
haven't heard
Canadian,
anything
dude.
that leads me to believe that you
I-
personally are playing a Confederate flag.
I am flying a Canadian flag, actually.
Hey,
Thank you very
You're pulling a
much.
Faith
Th-
Goldie, pulling that old
There
colonial
you go.
Canadian flag.
Not to say that there aren't
Yeah.
Canadians that don't also fly Confederate flags.
I have seen one or
The
two
dumb
actually.
ones?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
The wannabe American dumb one.
Let me read some of these super chats, okay? $5 from Stormwolf, and he sent me a DM because it wouldn't go through. A lot of
Okay.
these messages, they got to DM me directly because the YouTube chat won't let them through. Says, to make up for the left's reverse racism, every panelist should get to say a slur of their choosing as reparations. No. $2 from the Goodman. Remember when people loved R. Kelly? No.
Didn't he pee on an underage girl?
Yeah, he did
Yes.
Yeah, he did.
on video.
Wow.
Pretty gross. $5 from J Ray.
When you gotta
Making
go, you
bangers,
gotta
though.
go.
Yes. Remember.
It was reparations, actually.
Yeah. Remember, Holly
Listen.
thinks-
Every black person gets to pee on one white person as revenge for slavery. That's how it
Okay.
works.
$5
If
Kelly
you can
was
sign
I
me
don't
up,
think
that's
the girl-
amazing.
The United
I don't
States a
think
lot of
he
money.
was white. I think R. Kelly predominantly predated on black girls and women.
Yeah,
I don't-
that's
I
true,
don't
Tommy,
know.
he did.
$5 from J Ray. Remember, Tolly thinks growing racism on the left is more important than the active racism on the right.
Wow. Is
Five.
that true?
You want me to respond?
If you want.
No, I don't think it's more important.
Okay, $5 from No Eon. Kaysen brought a knife to school knowing he planned a fight with Ramirez, threatening that he wanted Ramirez in the hospital.
Oh my
don't-
God.
I don't know the details of the case. I can't speak.
Maybe that's why you actually got the 10 years instead of just self-defense.
That would make sense for bringing the weapon intentionally. Yeah, because that's apparently what got him like you said, the longer sentence.
Yep.
$5 from Mega Laglag. To the chicken. Why are you the way that you are? Because I'm thinking there's a sub 80 IQ thing here with you.
I've already explained it. These are the people that I grew up around.
Sure.
So
Durla Murgy says it doesn't have
I don't
to
think people
exist-
know what
Let me-
sub
let me
80
read it.
IQ would sound like.
yeah,
It's not like
yeah.
headless chicken. Sorry, go
Look,
ahead, Wick.
It's, you understand that they don't actually mean
80
sub 80
IQ.
IQ. That these are just
Sub
insults.
80
I know,
IQ.
which is why it's like
Wait,
tired.
I actually have a
like,
question. Okay, Headless Chicken. I have a question
These
for
are
you.
IQ
Okay.
deniers too. So yeah.
Okay.
When we
Headless
see
Chicken.
sub 70
Okay.
IQ, we look at Donald Trump.
Here, Headless
that's not
Chicken.
true either.
Here's a
Come on,
question. I
guys.
have a question for you. Okay, man. So I want you to listen closely. Okay. I assume you're a white guy. I think. Do you say yes?
yep.
Okay, yeah. Would it be completely cool if you were to have sex with a black woman, or would it be racist because you're white?
They all taste and feel good, so
Okay. No, because listen, there are some people who just straight
what was
up say
that face? Like,
there are some people who straight up say that
I
like
can handle
race...
a lot, but headless chicken talking about the touch of a woman is my line. Actually,
yeah. How many kids you got, Tally?
I'm gay, sir.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, listen, I've just
Married.
met some I've met some very far left people who like they are anti-race mixing but wokely. You know what I mean? Like do not dilute the black
Oh.
race with your white genes. It's like, oh, okay. Jesus.
they call us.
That's not
cumsies.
me.
Did you know that?
This is something. Well,
I'll squirt
this is
my.
also something that.
Never mind.
This is something that John McWhorter talked. This is one of the contradictions that John McWhorter talks about in his book Woke Racism, when he talks about the contradictions in the sort of inherent racism of anti-racism. And he gives that example where if you are a white person or a progressive person or a woke person, or he doesn't use the term woke in the book, he refers to them as the elect. But if you have a preference for dating, or if you've dated, more black people than white people, then you're a fetishizer, right? And you're not seeing them as full human beings. But if you haven't dated any black people, then you're probably racist and have some type of aversion to black people. And so there are contradictions basically in either way that Headless answered that question. There's a way to
Wait,
make a
hold on.
racist meme out
I
of
don't
it.
fetishize
Wait,
any
does
particular
that-
race.
Does
So-
that mean that like white people in the anti-racist future under an anti-racist government, all white people who haven't had sex with black people yet will have like government distributed black GFs just to even the score?
No, but they will have to wear racist on their forehead.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Okay. $5 from
Yeah.
Durla.
We're not going to do
Murgy.
human trafficking in woke land, Dev.
Sure.
Thank you.
Durla Murgy
They might.
for
Who
$5.
knows?
Hey, let me
Go
read
to
a
the
super
UK
chat.
and figure it out.
Let me read a super chat. $5 from Durla Murgy. It doesn't have to exist as a written law, but government loans disfavor white people, and companies will hire less
What?
white people per the BLS data. Response?
Well, all of like the whole institutional anti-white stuff that I've seen in hiring and like academics where like students get in and like all that sort of thing, it is more prevalent in Canada and in Europe than it is in America for sure. And I think the right wing likes to transplant stories from those countries and pretend that like they're happening in America.
Okay.
I
$5.
mean, it's definitely
Oh, go ahead.
an issue in this country. I would say like less so now. Like these things really like everything kind of peaked during peak woke and during the height of the BLM era. But this was like absolutely a thing, and to the point also of like having preferential standards. So yes, you couldn't say that I'm not going to hire a white person, but universities, organizations, corporations would do very explicit preferential hiring and explicitly say that they
There's
were
a-
looking for
Sure.
a sexual or gender minority or a
Let me ask the
BIPOC
panel this
person.
question because you reminded me of something actually, an incident that happened I believe a year ago, maybe 2, and I had a panel on it at the time. There was a one of the states, I think it was Minnesota, it might have been Michigan, one of the M's. Okay, I wasn't Mississippi, but it was either Minnesota or Michigan, I believe. Their school system said that when they downsize, they're going to get rid of the white teachers first. Was that racist?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes,
I don't-
obviously.
That would be, that would be.
So when you say, Headless Chicken, that there's
If
no
it's true.
anti-white racism in a real way, I mean, that seems
There,
real to me.
you can probably find an example here or there. I'm not denying that. The question is whether or not is it systemic? Is it ongoing? Is it increasing?
So I see the goalpost shifting
No,
significantly.
it's not a goalpost shift.
Yeah.
Well, here,
I mean,
and let's
literally.
chicken here. How about this? All right, if you have a system in place, like let's say an educational system, and they decide to get rid of white teachers first, that's not just interpersonal racism. That is systemic racism.
That's one school system making that decision. That's not
Okay, so
systemic.
we have
You'd
so
have
we
to
have
show-
one system.
Hold on,
We
hold
have
on,
one
hold
system.
on.
We have one
You'd have
system.
to show
System
you.
is.
Hold on. You'd have to show me that happening over and over again. You'd have to
Okay.
show. You'd have to
Well-
show me persistence in it.
That's fair. That's fair. Just out of curiosity, how many systems do I have to show you? What's the number?
I don't know how many school systems are the United States,
It
Would it
and
have to
take
be
that
all of them?
number
Thousands.
and make
there are
it
50.
make
at
it
least.
1% of them.
1% of them. So half a state.
1%. 1%. No,
Okay,
no,
so
no, no. Out of all the school districts in the country,
Okay. Got it.
1% of that. You have to show me that is happening at 1% of them.
Let's see. Okay.
Okay, while he does that, $5 from an honest perspective. Chicken Guy is conflating racism with systemic racism. He means there's no systemic opposition of white people, but he doesn't.
That's exactly
know
what I
the
said.
difference.
Okay, so there's 13,500 school districts in America. That means I need to find 135 school districts that have been racist towards white people, and then we can call it systemic racism.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there were some cringe statements at 135
Yeah,
school
there's-
districts.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm sure you're
Yeah,
gonna
that's-
find an
like, it's
individual.
gonna take
Worth
time.
the
sure-
time.
I'm sure you can
easily
probably
right,
find an individual over thousands upon thousands of schools. I'm talking about an entire system saying we are going to fire white people. You're going to have to find me
At that
135
school,
examples
that
of
particular
that.
school.
Okay, so
So first of all,
In
hold on, really
135
quickly, hold on, Deb,
separate
Deb,
systems.
Don't give in like this, Deb. Don't give in like this. First of all,
Mhm.
that at that school there is systemic racism. The system does not need to be at the level of the federal government for something to be systemic. Just ask black
I'm
people.
not
who talk
one of
about
those
systemic
weirdos that
racism,
takes
right?
an outlier and
say-
acts like
they
that's
will
a
say-
whole broad swath of things. That's Fox News bullshit, and I don't deal with it. If you want to go down that,
So if
that's
you
fine. I'm not going to respond to it. I'm going to treat it like the silly fucking bullshit it is.
Okay, so there is systemic racism, at least at that one particular school. Again, it doesn't need to happen on the federal level. Black people will tell you this when people try to counter the claim of systemic racism against Black people. Activists, not even Black people, a lot of times white people making this argument, but pro-Black activists or whatever will say, well, there doesn't need to be laws on the books for something to be a systemic issue. So just because this is not happening at all the schools does not mean that there's not a systemic issue at that
Then
school in that district.
in
That's
that
number one.
case,
Hold
you would
on,
have
hold on.
to
That's number
show
one.
me that
That's number
that's
one. Number
happening.
two, Dev, if you actually are going to try to do a statistical analysis here, don't get the denominator wrong, because we're talking about a school that that had layoffs coming, right? So you can't compare that to a bunch of schools that don't have the opportunity to fire their white employees. So you would need to find what the denominator is for schools that had to go through some type of layoff process, and then from there determine how many of them were doing that on a racialized basis, because comparing that school to schools that don't even have the option to discriminate against their white employees would not be a fair equivalence.
Gotcha.
I agree with that.
$5 from
Based.
Mega Laglag to say, Mr. Chicken, you are just plain dumb. Short bus now.
I've been called
$2.
far better or far worse by far better
Sure.
people. Yeah,
The
there we go.
Goodman for $2 says chicken guy needs to go back to robot chicken. Okay. $5 from True Striker. Do you think there is a difference between prejudice / bigoted behavior and racism? Serious question.
Yes.
It feels like they're all being conflated here.
The spectrum.
What's the okay?
I'm not-
define the difference.
I'm
between-
not really
Hold on,
bigoted. I'm just
curious 'cause
bigoted
Bree,
against
just real
the
quick,
bigots.
Bree, I want to give you a chance to answer this because you spoke up. What's the difference in your mind between prejudice, bigoted behavior, and racism?
I mean, you have like the least. I don't like to think of racism as like you do a racist thing, you're racist. I think that's very reductive. Although apparently a lot of people think this way. That's why we're having this discussion. But like at the smallest end, like you say some racist shit sometimes, or when you were 16, you laughed at racist jokes and made racist jokes at like parties or something. And at the other end of that spectrum, you have like organized racial violence, like the race riots, or like Black Wall Street getting destroyed, when cops firebombed Move. It's like a lot of different things on that spectrum. So like, if we want to make analogies, anti-white racism is kind of like a 5-year-old who steals a candy bar at the checkout line, and anti-black racism and like anti-minority racism is like a guy who rapes and murders 5-year-olds.
I don't think the
So,
gulf
like,
is that
if-
big, but I get your point.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
yeah,
like
hey,
anti-white racism, they're both problems. Like you could say both are criminals, but it's like not the same. Like one's
Not
like
the same in
not a
degree.
huge deal.
I could can I say something here? But sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you guys.
No,
But
say
with-
something. You're here on the
Okay,
panel.
yeah.
Talk
All right. Okay.
concisely. Go
As
ahead.
to get on Bree's point, anti-white racism is like an example is like you say the word honky once. You call someone a honky, right? Or a cracker.
No
or
one,
whatever.
no one would classify that as anti-white racism. Like that's
See,
not what
it's-
Dev and I are talking about.
Okay.
I think they're talking about like when like
I don't know.
people
I've
go
heard
off
some
and be
people
like,
use the hard
Yeah.
R when they say the C word, okay?
Yeah, the C
there
word
are
is
some
a little bit-
people who absolutely, if they're saying it, where's the Hassan clip of him using the word cracker?
I
He
meant
was
honky
absolutely
more
using it and
so.
very racist,
Honky,
right?
Sure,
Yeah, like,
some
you
people
know,
can
like-
say cracker with venom, but even that
Crackers.
is like
Okay,
Even
crackers
that
are also
is-
something
is-
that you put cheese on and eat. It's like no one cares about those words. The reason that an anti-black racism is like discrimination, violence. You know, most of the history of this country is just
most of the
racism.
history of this country is
Most of the
is
history of
racism.
America.
Yeah, this is the like, oh my God, this is what we're teaching people. This is actually where the anti-white racism comes from, is this worldview that you can break everything into the oppressed and the oppressors, and that being brown or being black links you to being oppressed, and being
I will
white
just
or white
refer you to
passing
lean
or
out
white
water and leave it at that.
adjacent links you to being the oppressor. And we've made groups into untouchables, and we've infantilized them in that way, and we've turned other groups into devils and the what's the word I'm looking for, the evil person in the story, basically. And it's not a
I mean,
healthy
I
way
get-
to look
I
at the
get-
world,
I
and
get
it's
what-
not,
I
it's
get what you're trying
certainly
to
not
say.
representative of the world we live in today. It's
I
a
get
crazy
what
thing
you're
to say
trying
that
to
the
say.
entire history
sounds
of
like
America
I
coke to
is
think
me.
most of the
racism.
history of this country was racist because
Lee
There's
Atwater
not
told me
true.
everything
It's
I
a
ever needed to
crazy
know
thing
about
to
the
say.
there's been
Republican
more
Party.
history of race-based slavery since 1619 was when the first slaves came on the American continent
Yep.
to
We were not a country.
now. But
We were
this
not
is
a
still-
country, and
we
from
were
the and from
colonized
the and from the
It was still
and
We were
from-
still
and from-
importing slaves
and
after
from-
76. Don't
from
even.
the formation
1808
of
was
and
when
from
the
the
slave
of
trade
course they
ended.
were. And from the formation
Officially.
of this country, there were founding fathers of this country who were abolitionists. Yes, our country has failed to protect the rights of all individuals in ways large and small throughout our history. But to say the history of America is mostly racism
Okay, we're gonna get to it.
just
We're gonna get
completely
to it.
denigrates all the
That
accomplishments
is
of
I'm
this
gonna-
silly.
hold on.
I will agree with you on that. That is silly to make that kind of
Wow,
statement.
based.
I'm gonna I'm gonna read the rest of my super chats and then we're gonna open it up a little bit. $5 from Quantum Fantasy. Does Headless Chicken accept the nickname Uncle Wuckus?
What does that mean?
It's
Well,
a
Uncle
reference
Ruckus,
to
I think.
Uncle Ruckus.
You got to
from
watch
the-
Boondocks, man. It's a great
Boondocks.
show.
You won't get the joke if you don't know the show. So
Am I white enough for that?
for Uncle Wuckus,
The-
maybe Uncle Ruckus, no.
Listen, in actuality, white people aren't allowed to watch Boondocks, which is why it's so great when we do.
Fair. I know.
I
I
don't think-
it was
I will put
forbidden.
it on my list.
It was forbidden. Okay, $5 from Deadly Sin. It's amazing how fast Tully and Ryan Malay went from the left hasn't earned my vote to slurping down every single right-wing talking point.
Oh my god.
That's just not even remotely an accurate representation of my political journey, but yeah.
Yeah, we know it was
This
trans.
panel
but it's
isn't
okay.
about Ryan at
Sure.
all. Like, this is Okay.
Durla Merge for $5 says the Board of Labor Statistics shows that white, specifically male, but also broadly, has been going down year after year, even under the Trump admin.
That's true, and that's also related to men not going into university. It's tied very closely.
Could it also be with the population change in the country as well? White. That's
Yep,
going
could
No,
be.
we're
up
still
against the
50-50.
population of the population of white people.
Oh,
in the
white
years
people.
is going down. Yeah.
Yeah,
Possible.
it depends on what you even define as white anymore.
Am I
In
white?
the census. I'm talking the census.
Hey, Tally, what's going
Well,
on in
a
your
lot
house?
of people claim that they're white. That if
Oh, there's
certain white
lawn
people
stuff.
had
You can
gotten
hear
a
that?
hold of their
Yep.
had gotten a hold of their genealogies would say no, you're not white. Kind of like how Germans did with the Jews. It's
That's
the exact same
fair.
thing. So
Okay, here's a question for the panel before I read the last super chat. Is Hassan white?
No, he's a
Yes.
Turk.
Uh,
No, Hassan's not white.
yeah,
no,
I
he's
thought
a
that
Turk.
was obvious on its face.
Turks are
I'm
Caucasian.
hesitant to answer. I'm hesitant to answer this question.
Okay.
What? Why?
Adam.
It doesn't
I say this as someone who's not a fan of Hassan Piker anyway. He's a cancer on the left.
matter.
Okay. Adam Milne says for $5, Tolly, quote unquote, all of the above makes it feel impossible to avoid putting lynching and microaggressions in the same category when they're night and day. And that is a fair point, right? Like, if one form
Not
if
really, 'cause
anti-white
no one's
racism is
being
being called
lynched.
mean names
I-
and anti-black racism is getting lynched, like
One thing I
Should
do
we
want
put
to
them
say.
in the same bucket?
If anti-black racism is getting lynched, then congratulations. We have basically no anti-black racism in this country
Ahmaud
because
Arbery.
yes, it
When-
would be ridiculous to compare I could go on about microaggressions, but it would be ridiculous to compare microaggressions to lynching, but that's not what we're talking about here. Lynching makes up a negligible 0.0000001% of things that people could classify as anti-black racism today in America. It's not even a huge part of our country's history, thank goodness. But no, and I'm obviously not talking about lynching when I'm referring to anti-black racism because that thankfully is not happening.
okay, final.
Once or twice a month, you'd see hanging effigies of Obama the day after he got elected. So, just because
Yeah,
the actual
that's
bodies.
disgusting. And
Hold
thankfully-
on.
Let him
Just
finish.
because
Different
their
to hang
actual bodies
bodies.
weren't hanging doesn't mean that the sentiment isn't still just as real.
Obama had to be protected by Secret Service earlier than any of the other candidates because of the racism he was getting while on the
$10
campaign trail.
final
Yep,
super
that's
chat.
true,
Then
that's
we'll
true,
we'll
yeah.
open it up to callers. Okay, $10 from protest. America has been quote unquote racist, and that doesn't take away from how great the country is. Racism
True.
wasn't just black people. A lot of Europeans were looked at as others. Tolly has to admit America has been racist.
Yeah, I mean, I never denied that though.
Okay.
So yes.
Okay. Fair enough.
I think
Okay.
the argument there is the severity.
I do want to give each of my actual panelists a chance to quickly shout themselves out, and then we have some callers who want in and are banging down the door. So I'm going to let Tully start, and we're going to let Bree have the last word. Tully, give us your kind of closing thought.
I think that anti-white racism, bias, hostility towards white people is a problem in this country, particularly on the left. And to Dev's point, we could even probably exclude the majority of mainstream Democrats from that group. But I think it's something that we all should take seriously if we actually care about making our society as least racist as possible. It's not acceptable for anti-white racism to be the only socially acceptable kind of racism today, and I think that we should all take issue with this because it leads to the type of pro-white backlash that we're seeing right now.
Dev, go ahead.
Listen, guys, I think that what happened to Carmelo Anthony was lynching coded. How about that? How does that sound? No?
You can say that.
Okay, listen. Anti-white racism is a problem on the left. Thank God the Democrats are moving away from it. But it is not a serious problem. It's not on my top 10 things right now. And it has been going down slowly over time. But to just say that it's not a problem at all, period, that's just wrong. That is just wrong. But yeah, it's a problem. It's not a big one. Thankfully, we're solving it. I think we'll be okay in the future.
Okay, thank you for being here. Not Dr. Dre. Get money, Dre, please.
Anti-white racism, I get the sentiment of Tally and Dev. Like, some people say mean things towards white people. I condemn that, obviously. It's not really a big problem on the left. I could name more, for instance, some more people moving to the right because of the other issues, including some issues with Biden's presidency. We're all on the same side. All four of us, plus I think Chicken too. We all want the left to win. We all want the liberals to win. We all want liberalism. We all care about our country, and we want to solve problems. And I think this panel was us trying to get to a solution. I think, for lack of a better words.
Thank you for being here. Bree, last word.
Thank you for having me.
I think you can be racist towards white people, but anti-white racism is not a significant problem among the left. As my analogy was earlier, you can call anti-white racism a kid who steals candy bars, and you can call anti-minority racism a guy who rapes and murders 5-year-olds. I think this is, to the extent that it is a problem, it's because Republicans put it all over the media because they're unhinged.
Okay. Well, thank you all for being here. This has been great. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button. And to be clear, none of my mods are pro-lynching. So I don't know why people say I have pro-lynching mods. If you can find a pro-lynching mod in my team, we'll demod them. But I don't know, why do people, look, before we bring callers, why do we just make shit up about me? Why do people do that? I know why.
At least
they find it funny, I think.
Well, one of your mods wants to lynch me right now, Wick.
I mean, that's probably true, but we'll see.
Over
Anyway,
my recent drama, but yeah.
Anyway, let's bring on some callers and see what they got to say. Welcome to the show, Mr. Hex, and our old pal Soy Pill. He's deafened though. Okay,
Yeah,
Mr. Hex, what do you got for us?
I'm coming in a little bit late. Are we saying, is the question whether or not the Democratic Party has an anti-racism problem?
The left.
Or whether the left?
The left.
Oh, the left.
The
far left
yeah.
does. We're talking about the left generally, or the far left?
I mean, what's your answer, man? Like, do you have a question for the panel, or what's your thoughts?
Well, yeah. So I don't think anti-white racism is even remotely like present in the Democratic Party. On the very far left, it exists. Even then, it's like it's not really serious. I know a lot of people who are like far leftist, like socialist types. When they engage in anti-white racism, a lot of them are white, by the way, and they hang out with white people and they date white people. The idea that these people are like legitimately anti-white and that they're trying to enact anti-white policy, I don't really see it. I think it's something that conservatives kind of bitch and moan about, while simultaneously supporting people that say stuff like, Haitians are eating the cats and dogs, and we got to purge the country of all these Mexicans.
You're going to be
stuff like
shocked
that. It's just not
to
fair.
find out the race of J.D. Vance's wife. You're going to be shocked if you think that.
Why would I be shocked?
Well, because one of your
defenses
defenses is that they're dating white people. So how can they be racist against white people? And I'm just telling you, you're going to be shocked at the races of some of the most racist people you could ever find.
Wick, she's Aryan. You have to understand.
Well, yes, but look at what does J.D. Vance do in action versus the people that are on the far left. J.D. Vance in action actually supports the minoritarian party, right, with anti-minoritarian policy, right? The people on the far left who are anti-white racist, it's like jokes and it's memes for them, and it's self-loathing. It's not like actualizing anything serious, right?
I don't necessarily disagree with that, but it really depends what communities you're in. I've definitely seen some very far left communities that are serious about their anti-white racism, and thankfully they have not very much power. So that's good.
I agree with Mr.
Yeah.
X
So
here.
then the question I have is like, why do we even pretend or like spend oxygen on this narrative? It's clearly like a psyop by the Republican Party and the far right.
Because Wick wanted the panel.
Brother,
Yeah, but yeah,
I mean,
send
that
me-
conversation.
That's simply as the
Okay,
question
you
was.
sent me articles about the Carmelo Anthony case, and you talked about
Yeah, 'cause it
how
was wild.
much the anti-white racism was a problem.
I
I'm
did-
going
that
to
wasn't what I
invite you
said
on
in
a
that
panel
DM.
on it if you're
People like
talking
me
about
do
it.
exist that truly do hate.
Yeah,
Here's a
certain
larger
white
question.
people.
I came
Is
in
the
here to
pe-
say what Mr. Hex is saying. And my question is, like, you even say, I listened to the beginning of this, Dev, you're like, this isn't even in the top 10 issues. And I agree, it's not. It's not even in the top, like, 5,000 issues that are happening in this country right now. I think the closest thing that anti-white racism has ever come to being a problem is that stupid people perceived it as a problem in, like, peak woke and then voted for Trump because they thought they were being discriminated against. And that was more of a failure of messaging. Like, for example, Tali, you mentioned earlier, someone tweeted out, like, abolish whiteness, right? And, like, that sounds really inflammatory and fucking scary. And then you look at, like, what that means, and she's doing some bullshit academic thing about, like, hey, whiteness is a thing that used to group all these different Germanic and Slavic people together so that they could outgroup black people. We need to get rid of the concept of it, which is an agreeable thing if you look into it, but is not conveyed at all in abolish whiteness and just turns everyone away. So in that sense, that's bad. But, like, we have like senators from Minnesota saying we need heritage Americans to be American. Let's deport all of the fucking minorities. If you weren't born here, you shouldn't hold office. And we're wasting any more than 10 seconds talking about the concept of anti-white racism, which basically doesn't matter. I think this is super fucking ridiculous. And Wick, when you suggest it, it's fucking stupid. When Dev, even if it's not your idea, when you're like, you know what, but I will participate in it. Why? Why are we talking about this? This is fucking such a waste of time.
Well, I had free time tonight, so I was like, yeah, I'll come on.
You should use that free time to
Also,
talk
to
about
be clear,
anti-black racism, which is more important.
so
And
Sarah
we need
Jung,
more black people on
Sarah
this
Jung,
panel,
the
so I can sit
journalist
my
who was
White House
added
down
to
and
the New
listen.
York Times
Oh
editorial
god, the
board,
Sarah
she
Jong
didn't
article. I
just
remember this
say,
story.
yeah, so she didn't just say abolish whiteness, right? She tweeted out cancel white people. She tweeted out white men are bullshit. She tweeted out, oh man, it's kind of sick how much joy I get out of being cruel to old white men. She tweeted about white people being genetically predisposed to live underground like groveling goblins.
Holy shit,
So I
okay.
would say that goes
All right,
far
wait, that
beyond.
goes a lot farther.
I would
That
say
goes a lot
goes
farther
far
than what I
beyond
thought. Sure.
saying
Okay.
white
who said
people
this?
who were
Hold on
Slavs
a
and
second,
Irish
bro.
and
No, no, no,
Italian.
Okay.
please.
Yeah, sure,
Who
sure,
said
sure.
this?
Tally, because I did a
Who said
big
this?
deep dive into Sarah Jung. Okay, do you know what happened to her after all these tweets were uncovered?
I remember that initially the New York Times stuck by her, but if there was a
Yeah,
negative
they fired
consequence,
her.
that would
They
be good
fired
to
her.
hear.
Yes, she
Okay.
was
What
an editor at the New
cultural
York Times.
relevance does
They
this
fired
person
her.
even have?
Yeah, one,
Did
what
anybody
culture
know
Well,
relevance?
they
and I saw
defended
this
her at
on
first
Rant.
because this came out when she was being added to the editorial board.
This
So,
is back in
like,
2017.
this person has no-
ultimately, the
This was
backlash showed that,
2017.
like, Ultimately,
focus
the
on it
anti-white
because you have a bias.
ultimately the anti-white
I
racism was
think
enough
if
of a
you're the
problem
kind
that
of
they
person,
fired her. And ultimately, and the same with the Carmelo Anthony thing, you can talk about like, hey, look at all these people like saying that like he should have got a lower sentence, or saying that like this was like a miscarriage of justice. Okay, but what actually happened? What happened was a black guy killed a white guy and he went to jail for it. Like when people are upset about the system, when they're upset about anti-black racism, it's because a guy kills a black guy and then they get off for free. And this is like a complete like justification. This guy killed a guy and he went to jail, and the system operated the way it was supposed to, and we're complaining that people complained about that. Like, how is this at all equal to when people are upset that the system is discriminating against them, which did not happen at all here? Or when this woman is like what you just described, Holly, that goes far beyond what I thought about it. Okay, sure, she was being actually racist.
She was
against
not
white
fired.
people.
Sorry, I just looked into it. She
Are
was
you
not
sure?
fired. She was correct. She was allowed to step down from her position, and they transitioned her from the editorial board to an opinion columnist role in 2019. And then later she left the New York Times to join The Verge in 2022. So she was never fired.
Okay,
Well,
let's say it's
allowed to
worse.
step
Let's
down.
Let's say it's
is-
worse.
is-
Let's say
allowed
she
to
got a
step down
fucking
is firing.
promotion.
Hold
She
on,
was
yeah,
allowed
but
to
she went
transition.
from
She was
one
allowed to transition
columnist
to
to
another
another
part of the
columnist. Is that
magazine.
firing,
Okay,
right?
fair
Like
enough,
it's like
fine,
it's
fine.
like when the Catholic
Wait,
Church took the
why
priests
are we
and
what are you
fired
talking
them
about?
from one parish and sent them to another parish. Like, okay,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but Wick, the point
Yeah,
is
that's
that this
bad,
was
but, like-
obviously Optic
No,
and
no,
Dad,
hold
and they
on,
tried
hold
to
on.
move her. But regardless, let's say they didn't. Then what? What did this do? Did this discriminate against whites,
What-
or was this one person saying
Yeah, who
racist
cares,
stuff into
like-
the ether? What did this affect?
Holly,
but
Well,
don't you
it's
see the
bad,
problem
and
here
it's
that you
bad
guys
to
are saying?
defend
Like,
it.
who cares
bad
when
to
it's
Holly
against
defend
white
voted
it.
people?
for Donald
Normalize
Trump, and
it.
she's over here like wringing her hands,
Normalizes.
bro. Are you
This is so
serious?
boring, though. Come
But
on. this is
but
so
Are you
if
doing
your
that
whole
again?
argument is
No,
like
it's
we
not.
don't care
No,
if
it's
they
not.
do
Let me-
this
let me
towards
make a
white
point.
people,
Let me make a
I
point.
mean like that's the problem, right?
No one said no, Wick. No one said
No, no,
don't
no.
care. We can say we can all.
Let me
I'm
make-
assuming everyone here agrees with the Sarah Jong again. I don't know.
Sarah
her name, but
Sisson,
I'm gonna yeah. That's
Congratulations.
bad, right? We all agree that
Yeah.
that's bad.
Yes.
Bad.
Okay,
Yes.
now
Let me
what?
let me make a point real fast.
Now,
Let me
who
explain
gives
you
a
guys
fuck?
got
What
before,
is this person
okay?
doing to
Yeah, let me
perpetuate anti-white racism that actually affects white people in any way, shape, or form?
Let me make a point real fast, okay? I think if you spend all your time as a political commentator looking for, seeking out, and promoting every single anecdote you could find of anti-white racism, regardless of how much cultural penetration those people have, but you don't talk at all about the like legitimate systemic racism against like minorities, there's a word for when you have a bias, and that bias is along racial lines.
Yes. And there's a word for when you would excuse and say, well, it's bad, but what you gonna do? What's the real effect?
No,
when
we're
it's
not
towards white
excusing it.
people,
We're
but
calling
you
it. We're
focus
pointing out the scope and the
entirely
scale.
on another. Yes, there is a word for that. I agree.
Also, there's one extra element to this story. I think there's a sexual component to this because Sarah Jong's also very open about how she only dates white men, and she makes like a sexual thing out of it. So there's something
Wow.
going on here. That's
Yeah, never
It's a
ask
wild
a,
story.
never ask a
Look, as
racist
we
who
al-
they're,
but we
who
already-
they're
we
dating.
Yeah,
already-
we've already
Yes.
established that.
If
But
you
go-
seek
Yeah,
out
that's already
only
built in.
anti-white stories in order to distract away from anti-Manipurian
No one here is
racism,
doing
Yeah,
that.
hold on. Who's doing
So-
that?
how much do you?
Wait, who's
how
doing
much
that?
do
The
you talk,
entirety
Kelly?
of the right wing from 2015
Kelly.
to 2020,
Here,
and still
here
to
in
this
this
day
panel
trying
right
to do
now.
it.
Kelly,
I think
Who's doing
Dev, I don't
Kelly.
know your whole history. Don't get me wrong. Did you participate in the whole like anti-SJW stuff like back then?
yes, but not necessarily the
Correctly.
race component of it.
Correctly. Yeah,
I,
okay,
I
Howard.
was much more involved in the Gamergate like cultural side of it. For
Yeah,
sure.
and like, let's be real. Like, if you look back at Gamergate, like, what was the actual effect of I don't know, fucking Anita Sarkeesian or like the worsts of woke?
Nothing, dude.
Like nothing.
That
It
one chick,
really did not
the Five
amount to
Guys
nearly.
chick, was a
Huh?
literal who? That
Sorry,
white
what?
chick who was fucked by 5 guys or whatever
Yeah,
was a
Zoe
literal
Kern, yeah.
who. No one knew who this fucking person was. She
Yeah.
had no effect on the gaming industry writ large.
Well, I
Like,
mean, because
people
here's
go out of their
hear
way-
me out, man. Here, it's because
Okay, go ahead,
I
yeah.
was heavily involved in Gamergate. I did
I
not
was
get
too. I was on
involved.
4chan. I'm a 4chanian.
Yeah, me too, man.
I'm an
me
old
too.
friend.
Listen, I got involved specifically on the ethics side of it. I did see the harassment side of it, and I stayed away from that very strictly. For me, my channel specifically broke a story where we discovered that the guy who made the indie game Fez, Phil Fish, that he paid off people to give his game awards. And like that's an actual ethics conversation that you can have regarding video games, and that was during Gamergate. So like
Sure.
there's absolutely a harassment side to that, and I'm not part of that, but there was an ethics side too, with people having reasonable conversations.
Right, but a majority
Oh,
of it
I'm not talking
wasn't
about the
that,
ethics
Dev.
at all. I'm just
The
talking about, like,
majority of
none
it
of
was
this was really
people.
even significant
Heck,
or
is there a
relevant.
delay on your thing?
I don't know. There might be. Give me
Yeah,
a minute.
you're
I'll switch over to
you're
my
just
computer.
always
I don't know.
talking over people, right? Like always. And it's
Well, I
Which is
mean,
normally okay, but specifically
it
not
is.
for tech
Popular enough
reasons.
on this chat.
I just think that if, like, using this Sarah Jung woman as an example, if she had said those same things, but we replaced out white people with what you guys would consider like an actually oppressed minority group in this country, people would not be
You'd vote
excusing
for
it
her.
as a way as okay, good one. People would not be excusing it away. People
I'm
wouldn't
sorry,
be excusing
but
it away
that
as okay, yeah,
hypocrisy,
I don't like.
that hypocrisy doesn't go away. You have to answer for it.
Switch to your
Because it
computer, man.
explodes
Switch to your computer.
Give me a second.
Okay.
But no,
Okay, so
that,
if
that
you
hypocrisy is
switched out the
true.
races,
You can't avoid it. You
if
can't
you
just keep
switched
running
out the
away from
Jesus
it.
races
Christ,
in her
Hex.
statement.
You vote for her.
Okay. Okay.
He's too triggered to
So,
switch.
you switched out. If you switched out the.
Wait, yeah, can you answer that,
Jesus
Tolly?
Christ.
Would you vote for her if she did that?
If you. Yeah, so I would vote for if she did that.
No, don't
So if
fucking
you- if
smugly
you
say. You
switched
voted for
out-
JD
if you
Vance. He
switched
talked
out
about
white-
Heritage Americans. You voted for the Republican Party.
Let,
you
let,
endorsed
let,
people like Eric
you can
Schmidt.
ask her the question after Tolly finishes her statement. Go ahead,
Okay,
Tolly.
okay.
If you switched out white with another protected, marginalized group in this country, people would not just be saying, "Yeah, I don't like that. That's really bad, but it's just words. You know, get over your."
That's
hurt
what you
feces,"
say
right?
about
Because people-
Republicans.
because people that's literally not what I say. Because
Okay.
people rightfully
But you said it earlier on
understand that
this
if you
panel.
allow that if you that I said what? I don't
You
know why I'm actually
defended
allowing myself to be.
Republican
I
racism.
should not allow myself to be derailed by you. So people would correctly understand that allowing this stuff to happen and saying, "Well, it's okay, whatever, it's just hurting your feelings," that would promote an environment where it's acceptable to promote hatred against those people. And we understand that if you have a group of people or a community of people that are just fomenting and hate against a group of people, that can be dangerous. That then you're going to have
Yes.
those people with the screws loose in that group that might take that to a different level. And so that's why it is a
Wait.
problem that we should take
Yes.
seriously.
Tolly, I completely
True.
agree
And
with
then
you,
you
and
vote
that's
for him.
why when this person came out and said this shit, now that you've described, like, it wasn't just the abolish whiteness, it was all of this stuff that was like clearly racist. This person should be fired. This person should be excised. They should not be a part of any coalition. Like, this should not be acceptable behavior. Now that we can agree on that, you earlier in this panel, I heard, excused the cats and dogs comments from JD Vance and Donald Trump, who you voted for, after
I
they
didn't
said that.
excuse it at all. No, I literally
what did you
didn't.
say?
In fact, I said
What did you say?
I said. In fact, Dev and I made a joke about the Somalia comment and said, "Well, actually, Somalia is a shithole." But I condemned explicitly and said that was racist. I didn't say
Okay.
that was okay or justifiable or anything. I said that was completely unnecessary and racist.
It's just, but it is
you
okay. It's
misheard,
not a
which is
deal
not
breaker for you.
surprising.
It's acceptable racism.
It's not good. We're all
okay,
apparently
wait. So remember
accepting some
when I
level of
interrupted you and you're
racism
like, I
here.
didn't do that. You're doing it right
And
now.
we-
You're like,
we
well,
should
it's not
speak-
good.
No, I
but
said
I will
no,
let
I
it
said we
happen,
should
and I
speak out
won't
against
impact.
it.
I'll
Again,
promote it.
I'm not sitting here. I'm not sitting here talking about electoral politics or about votes. I'm talking about the ways that people can try to combat this type of prejudice
worse?
and hostility.
Saying that the New York Times author is acceptable, or letting the president of the
Literally,
United States get elected
this
and
is
doing it for the
not
entire
this
country.
conversation is not a trial of my vote in 2024.
Yeah,
I'm
but
not
your
going
morals
to.
don't make
You can
any fucking
redirect if
sense
you
here.
want to, but
Your
I will.
morals make no
That's
sense
fine. You don't
because
have
every
to
single
accept
thing you're
my
saying,
morals.
you're not applying
You
to
don't have to
yourself.
accept my morals. You can just
Okay.
listen to the arguments
Tally,
and agree with it. Or not.
Tally,
Go ahead,
just
Dev.
real quick, Tally. Okay, this might be the worst habit that you've picked up from Ryan Mullally. When you have to bite a bullet, don't say, "Well, it was bad." Just bite the bullet.
No, but she'll never bite the
I didn't
bullet.
pick that up from Ryan Mullally.
That's even
But I
worse.
did. But
then.
hold on. But again, Dev. But by the way, though, but we already acknowledged this in this conversation before Soypil came onto the panel. You were there, Dev. We had a
Acknowledge
whole
what,
back
sorry?
and forth.
That it was
Specifically?
racist.
We literally already discussed this on this panel before Soypil got to the conversation.
That it was racist. You both said it was racist, right?
Yes, of course.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's okay.
I don't think so.
No, it's not
Well,
okay.
well, you'll vote for them if they do it.
Doesn't mean it's okay.
Okay.
Hold
Interesting.
on. Do you think what Plattner did was okay when he lied about the Nazi tattoo?
No.
Mm.
But you'd vote for him
But you'll
anyway?
vote for him.
But lying about the Nazi tattoo isn't part of his platform. Condemning
Okay,
an
so
entire race of people
we've
is part of Trump's
established that-
platform.
Again, you will vote for people even if they do bad things that you disagree with, correct?
Is that how we're gonna vagity every single thing?
Is
Every
that
bad
vagity?
thing is an endorsement
Yes.
of their behavior? I'm saying it's not a deal breaker.
Yes, apparently.
If
Well,
Plattner
yeah, and
was
that wasn't a deal
Plattner-
breaker for Tolly, and she's got to hold that.
yeah,
out.
lying is
that's
not a
not
deal
a deal
breaker,
breaker for you.
Being
You gotta
racist to
hold
the
that
point
out.
of condemning an entire race of people is a deal breaker for me. Yes, those are very different fucking things. So Plattner, if he was still a Nazi, or if he ever was one, I think he was just being an edgy idiot. I think that would be a deal breaker for me. I wouldn't give a fuck. In the same way, AOC made sure that
Hold on, you
anti-Semite.
said that Biden
In the
can
same
come
way
in and
that
rape your whole
AOC
family,
made
and
sure
that
that
wouldn't be a deal
anti-Semite
breaker
did not
for
get
you.
elected, even though they were Democrat. That's where vote blue no matter who stops from you. It's
Tolly,
like, no, this
not
person
Tolly,
should not
I'm
be
sorry.
elected.
Soy Pill, you said that Biden could break in and rape your whole family, and you'd still
Yeah.
vote for him over Trump.
Yep. If
Yes.
that's, hey,
so
wait.
how,
But if
why,
his platform,
but Plattner
not
having
a
a
deal
Nazi
breaker.
tattoo
if
versus
his
Trump, you
platform,
wouldn't.
but if his platform was I'm going to rape into every America family, then I wouldn't vote for him.
Okay.
But if Donald Trump says in a comment somewhere, "Hey, I don't like black people" or whatever, this is pretty fucking bad. However, if he then goes on to make his entire platform, I'm going to improve black people's lives through all these economic policies, which he didn't, by the way, but let's just say he did. I would think that these two things could be weighed, and you could say, okay, this racism is fucking awful, but I don't think this is indicative of the platform that he holds. However, if he's on stage during a debate and saying, hey, let's condemn all Somalis. Let's say Somalis are people that fucking eat cats and dogs. Yeah, that's a lot fucking different. Do you agree, Wick?
Do I agree?
Those Haitians.
No,
yeah.
I do
You're the one
agree that
pressing
there's
me.
differences here. Yes, I do agree
Okay.
that there's
Dev.
differences here. Yes, that's true. Yes. But I still, I still think that your line is not my line, and I think that what someone coming in and raping my whole family would be mean I don't vote for them. I mean that would just be true.
At all? Wait.
Yes.
Wick.
Yes, I don't think
I got to
can't
ask
think
you
of
the
a
Ryan Mullally
realistic
question.
scenario
Wait.
where
Okay.
I would
Winston
vote for this
Churchill.
person.
Winston Churchill breaks into your house and rapes your whole family. Would you vote for Hitler?
No, I wouldn't vote for anyone. I
You
would
wouldn't
stay
vote to
home.
stop Hitler?
I would
wouldn't vote
not
to stop
vote for
Hitler?
Winston Churchill.
That's
He
selfish.
would not get my vote.
That's selfish, Wick.
It might be, but it's still true.
You gotta
Okay, I
want to give
Fuhr Fresser. He's calling in, and I think he might have some interesting takes. Go ahead.
I would definitely call that true because I'm sitting on the more conservative side of things. I'm a blue dog Democrat as much as they exist anymore in the country. And so for me, one of the things that kind of, I don't know, it rubs me the wrong way is that we conflate race as well as with culture. So taking, for example, the Haitians eat cats and dogs thing. I think that's more of a culture to Haiti thing, and that tarring like an entire racial group that way probably wasn't the best way to go about that. I would say 100%.
Xenophobic.
Yeah, understatement.
Very xenophobic. Yeah, absolutely. But you still have to address that there are sometimes issues with certain communities causing problems. I think the more recent Somali fraud issue is a better one to point at because you can actually see continuous examples of a tribe, not necessarily all Somalis, but particular tribes potentially within that culture who take advantage of systems because that's just how they did it in Somalia or wherever they came from. And it's the integration piece that I think we've been missing a lot of within a lot of this immigration that the United States has been receiving recently.
Didn't the lady who get charged with like the most serious crimes, wasn't she white?
She
Yes,
was, in fact.
She was, yes.
Do you think that people like Nick Shirley or the Trump admin are sincerely concerned about fraud, or they're highlighting immigrant groups like Somalis to drive up anti-Somali sentiment?
Oh, absolutely not.
Both.
They do not care. But yes, you can absolutely point out something bad and have bad intentions when you point it out. That's
Sure.
two
So
things
we
that are
can-
not.
We can just say
Yeah.
fraud is bad, and regardless of who is more predisposed based on their like a country of origin's culture to do it, it doesn't matter. We should just prosecute fraud and not use this to restrict immigration from certain places, to deport people based on who they are with collective punishment for what country they came from. And that's what the Trump admin is trying to do. So I think any credence given to them is ridiculous.
And again, I don't agree with the Trump admin on their approach. I think they're tapping on a real problem. I think their solutions are bad. I think you can go in and you can take a look at the fraud and not excuse it because it's coming from a racial minority, which that has been proven coming up several times when they were investigating this, where audits and things that would have normally shut down these types of, let's just say the daycares in this particular case, got them
Leering
shut down.
centers.
And yeah, God, the Leering centers. Ugh. The fact that they have one down here in Texas too also didn't help the entire thing, but that's neither here nor there. What was I going to say? you can deal with these issues and you can also not excuse them. I think we've had the problem of ping-ponging between both extremes, where one side didn't want to
Yes.
appear racist by going after these particular groups, because you could make a racial argument, right? If it's mostly Somalis doing that, with, of course, some white people participating as well, and people look at that from the outside and says, well, you're going after the Somali community. Well, they're the community that's doing it. How do we square that circle, essentially, without coming across it?
You do realize that at least some of the people highlighted in Nick Shirley's video were already under investigation and had been since 2024?
Correct. There was I think it was the Leering Center, or it was one of the other ones that had been shut down 7 times and had their license suspended at the time they were still in operation and were still pulling funds, based on the government reporting of that.
That's
at
all
the
true,
time.
but I mean, the idea that the Democrats just didn't want to look into it because they didn't want to appear racist, that seems to be false.
Well, both things can be true, right? That they were hesitant to look at it and maybe they stalled looking into it and allowed a problem to get bigger because they were concerned. But they did eventually. This is true, right? Which is why the people who say that Nick Shirley, like I'm no fan at all of Nick Shirley, but the people who say that everything that he put in his video, you know, was false is belied by the evidence of like mainstream left-wing news organizations who are reporting on this already.
He's a fucking Down syndrome baby. He's one of the worst YouTubers I've ever seen in my life.
I agree.
But like, I think you need proof to say that the Democrats dragged their heels on this.
I think this evidence came from within the Minnesota legislature here. That this was essentially like, whistleblower might be a strong word, but it was coming from within the House that people were nervous and had reservations about this becoming something racialized. And I think, to the caller's point, I agree with your sentiment very much. I think a lot of these sort of what turn into culture war issues are really the result of like no adults being left in the room, because everyone is so negatively polarized that you have, you know, one side does a bad thing, you know, or makes something bad out of this situation. The other side then, instead of acknowledging where things are wrong, right, and trying to fend off the racism or whatever ism or phobia, they double down and they dig their heels in and end up defending something that shouldn't be defended. So,
well, if that's
I
true,
would
I do want
also
to see
very
the
much
proof,
like the
then.
middle ground that you're calling for.
I would like to see proof that the Democrats actually drag their heels on that. I want to see it.
I think that's absolutely fair.
Okay. Let me read a few more of these. $10 from Hell's Pacifist. Firstly, so white people were, quote-unquote, participating. Wholly downplay. Amy Bach was a reported mastermind. Secondly, anyone who says they'd leave their kid alone with Trump shouldn't give advice.
Who said that?
Tolly and
Me.
a different panel.
Yes.
Wait! You said you'd leave your kid alone with Trump?
Over Plattner, I believe.
Yeah,
was the
I'd said I'd
comparison.
rather leave my
Okay.
daughter, or even more so myself. Like, I'd rather be trapped in a room with Trump than Graham Plattner for sure.
Which is still fucking
There's
wild.
the guy who called his own daughter hot.
Yeah, but not Tolly's daughter. It wasn't Tolly's daughter.
I mean,
Biden's not old. Trump is old, and like you can just push him to the ground and he won't get up.
Yeah, but
I mean,
Trump's
he'll
too
still
old to
try
take
and
care of
shoot his
someone.
load.
I
I
think.
mean,
Yeah, $5 from Bulb Sweet Bulb to say, just thought I'd remind everyone about the creeping inevitability of death, and there's nothing we can do to stop it. Great
Hell yeah.
panel. Thank you for that.
You see that
$2
for right
from
now.
Protest.
Right
It's
now.
only a problem if you don't touch grass, Dev. I'm not sure what he's
Wait,
referring
what?
to.
Oh yeah, anti-white racism is only a problem if you don't touch grass. I think that's probably mostly true. And I'm
That's true,
speaking
yeah.
as someone who went to a
100%.
really liberal college and faced some anti-white racism. It was
What was
at
the
worst
worst
it didn't
anti-white
give me the-
racism you faced, Soypill?
Oh my god! It
First
was
of all,
like,
are you white?
There was like a black. Yeah. Well, I'm Jewish, so some white people would say I'm not, but I'm as white as I need to be to blend in, like all the Jews do in all of our societies, right? Because that's how we subvert them. No, I mean, like the worst it would be like, I think I went to like a women's group because it was like a extra credit for a gender studies class I took as an elective, and everyone was like, "Why is there a white guy here?" And that was it. It's just
Yeah, I
like,
mean,
whatever.
I also received like a progressive education, and I had similar experiences at the university. And I mean, that's bad, but it's not that big of a deal compared to other things that are happening right now.
$2 from Let Icarus. Talking about racism when there's a genocide. Okay, well, thank you for the $2.
Which genocide we're talking about?
Unironically, though, talking about anti-white racism when there's people currently with the levers of power who can implement racism to an extent that might get us back to like 70s, 60s, and more. Yeah, why the fuck are we talking about this?
Because we've already had 1,000 Trump panels. I can do one of these. Okay.
I was asking this. I was asking myself the same question that I remember. I signed up for the panel.
Yeah.
So.
Again,
That's
we've
why-
done 1,000. Look, gang, we've done dozens, hundreds even, of anti-right wing panels and asking questions.
And we
that
should do
might be
hundreds more.
anti-right wing. We can do one or two on the left side.
Let
that's
them
okay
know
to do.
no reprieve from snark, Wick. They don't deserve it.
And well, all
If I
of my
get your next
anti-snark
panel,
panels are anti-white ring. $10
Whatever
from
panel
No
is,
Eon
that
to
you.
say, I don't think we're serious about mending race relations without strong reparations of a pro-education, anti-poverty sort. Bottling it down with colorblindness isn't as healthy as it sounds. Reconcile America. What are your thoughts?
I think colorblindness, I heard Tali mention colorblindness earlier, and I was going to say I actually sympathize with this idea because I think it's very idealistic, but it's also like from the right place. Hey, what if we all just stop talking about race? Wouldn't it be better? And the answer is yes. But unfortunately, you can't like stop in the middle of, fucking people over for hundreds of years and then be like, okay, now we're all even, right? Because clearly these things don't disappear. Clearly these things still have downstream effects. I think one of you guys mentioned it. Get Money Dre, I think, was talking about this, where it's like, yeah, like you can't look at like formerly redlined ghettos and the fact that people like have a lot harder time having any wealth mobility and be like, hey, all right, your turn to figure it out. Like you just can't. You have to acknowledge that like race still has a factor. There are still people in power today in fucking Congress, in the White House, who are using race to be racist. So when you look at like, why is there an all-black fraternity? It's like, well, why is there an all-black fraternity, right? It's not to discriminate against white people. It's because they weren't allowed to join fraternities, and then they had to form their own. And maybe now it's not as necessary, so maybe you could get rid of them. But like, is that the problem, or is the problem that like there are people with the levers of power who are trying to implement our racism in our society, and like we can't just say, hey, colorblind guys. It's like, well, these guys aren't colorblind. Like, race isn't real. I'm going to keep saying that, but these guys believe it's real and they're trying to do racist things. So we still need to talk about it. So colorblindness is like 100, 200, 500 years down the road if we make it that far.
Okay. $2 from Protest.
Yes, I did enjoy your Woke 2 video, speaking of that.
Oh, thank you, Dave.
$2 from Protest. What is Tali's opinion on DEI? It's probably negative.
It is.
Okay. $5 from the Tyler J. Donating because I want more content like this where Soy Pill absolutely owns Tali in the VC. Like, this is a question. Soy Pill, why do you only jump on the panel when I have Tali on? Why don't you ever jump on a call in when it's just me and the boys hanging out? Why didn't you call in, I don't know, the other day with
what was the other day?
And Reason Riffs and then?
Oh, because I had Live and Learn and I was sick. I just got better.
Was
but I'll
on
jump
there.
in on
No,
more
you
panels.
didn't have Live and Learn. No, you didn't have Live and Learn.
It was Monday, right?
Panel.
If it wasn't Monday, I guess it wasn't, because
Tuesday.
Peace goes on Live and Learn. So, yeah, because I was sick. That's why.
Oh, Okay,
I've been sick since Monday.
$10 from Hell. Oh, I already read that one. $10 from Pondering Politics. Please ask Soy Pill how Joe defines populism. So first of all,
let Joe answer. Bring Joe on.
if Joe wants to come
Joe?
on, he's more than welcome to talk.
Joe
about
Mama.
I'm sure he will have.
Joe was on a panel and he took 8 hours to define populism, and now Josiah makes it my problem every time he has the opportunity.
Wait, is this Kung Fu Joe?
No,
that we're talking about?
It's Joe Lewis.
Because that guy takes 8 hours to say fucking anything.
Joe Lewis, different Joe. There's too many Joes. I guess, yeah. I don't know. I think that this.
Wait.
It's really weird how sometimes when I have a topic that I think actually is interesting, and I do think this one has, I disagree with you, Soy Pill. I think it's interesting to talk about.
You can't hear you right now, sorry.
Okay. To the rest of you, I think this topic's interesting. I don't want us to get to a point where anti-white racism is normalized in this country, where the people who are anti-white do get power. So I think nipping it in the bud now with a panel or two here and there, perfectly acceptable and perfectly fine. Yeah,
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Because it's a problem, but not a major problem. A little bit of cultural reinforcement here and there to make sure people understand. No, you can't be racist against whites either. That's okay.
Yeah, we tend to run this soft cover. People do, right? Where they'll just well, why are we even talking about this?
It's not even soft.
Something where there's something.
Be
else
firm with the cringe lefties. Kick them the fuck out. Let them know that they're not welcome.
Yes, based.
Okay, Young Wiz, welcome to. I'm gonna cycle some people out. Okay, Young Wiz,
Hello.
what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I was just listening to this, and I think I'm going to repeat what some other people said, but I mean, this is all kind of a game that conservatives have been pulling for a couple of decades now, where they go out every day and they try to victimize themselves. This was even in the '90s they were doing this with Buchanan, with the reverse racism, and this is happening at a time when the vice president is saying that we're not a nation connected by an idea. We're a nation connected by some vague notion of heritage, which, I'm thinking that in his mind probably leans a little white, right? Yeah.
Response?
Do you think that JD Vance doesn't consider his wife and children Americans?
Probably.
I mean, I think
Okay,
people
I just
have
disagree then.
Look.
There's so many
People
considerations.
have weird ideas when it comes to like people in their
clearly a
immediate
grifter.
circle. Yeah.
He's a grifter. I can
Did
definitely
you see,
agree
Tolly?
with
Did you
that.
see when he suggested hiring back that Doge person that said normalize Indian hate, and he didn't even really defend his wife at all?
I didn't see
I think
that.
his lack of defense of his wife throughout all the attacks that she's been getting has been extremely embarrassing and
He's
shameful.
spineless. Simple as that.
Yeah, because
What
he
is it?
wants
Is he
to
still getting
play,
laid?
he wants to
What?
play more credence to the idea of heritage Americans
Why do you
and this
think we call
rise
him
of
the
like
couch
Groyperism
fucker? 'Cause
than
he's
he
always
wants
on
to
the
couch.
say,
Yes.
hey, it's okay to be Indian. Like he literally cares more about
No,
the
it's
white
true.
unity stuff, right?
It's true. He's like appealing to the part of the right that is already like post Trump, that they're against Trump because Trump is like a immigrant loving, Jew loving cuck, right? So
Yeah.
yes, he is. It seems that he's trying to court the even more extreme and nefarious segments of the right, and I think that is bad.
Yeah, he
Those-
does not think his wife is a heritage American. I'll say that.
I want to about someone asked earlier if JD Vance thinks of his kids who are half Indian as American. I think he thinks of his individual kids, but other half white, half Indians, I don't think he thinks they're as American as him or something.
Yeah. Some of them
Yeah,
I
because
assume he thinks are
they're-
good people.
Just assume he has no ideology that's stable at all, and he just does
He
whatever
doesn't.
the
He just
fuck
wants
he
power.
wants.
Well, also look at like who groomed
them.
him, like the Curtis Yarvin, Mencius Moldbug stuff, where like Curtis Yarvin is like a race realist, like, very strong perpetuator of like anti-Indian racism, anti-black racism, and JD Vance follows this person prolifically. Like it's not lost on anyone that this guy's probably a huge fucking racist. So I don't know.
I mean, he's a
to be honest,
Republican.
the
Elected
the-
Republicans are all soulless demons. So
Curtis Yarvin isn't a Republican. He's much further to the right than that. The biggest problem the biggest problem with Curtis Yarvin is that his ideal utopian future is one where all the guns are controlled by the government using hyper advanced technology to wirelessly shut them off. Like you could never.
That's the biggest problem, not the like the
it is.
racism or like
Yeah,
the
it
I want to
is.
live in a king like monarchy.
Yeah,
Like
that's
I
all.
thought the
no, no.
racism and the dictatorship was the biggest problem.
See, that's all terrible.
It's the hypocrisy.
But in his ideal future, you would have no chance in actually stopping him because he would just turn off your guns. Like that is the linchpin that makes everything else work. So I think that's the worst part.
Okay, I get it.
If there was a New York Times, if the only racism that happened against actual minorities was a New York Times article where someone said mean things about them, I'd be like, racism is solved. We're post-racial. Like this little comments like that. That's not like factoring into the calculus of who has power in society, who has opportunity in society. So I'm just explain that.
$10.
Black people and brown people have plenty of opportunity in society. I reject your framing.
Okay, I mean, but they could
More
only
than
vote for
in the
like.
past, but not as much as white people have now.
Hold
Yeah,
on.
Yes, I would say as much as white people have now.
Who
As
agrees
much?
with that? Who agrees with that? Who agrees that
Yes.
today in America, black people and white people have equal opportunity?
Looks like no one's raising their hand, which
no
is
one?
makes sense.
None of you?
the Supreme Court kind of just said that we're past racism, especially the South. And all those Southern legislators were looking like pedophiles at a kindergarten, like, ooh, we're going to target these black districts out of existence.
$10 from Pondering Politics. By a show of
Wait,
hands.
does anyone disagree? I just want to make sure we're all on board with that. Like, just because black people are equal under the law, which even they aren't kind of after certain laws like that are passed, like, you understand that the history of racism and Jim Crow segregation has had downstream effects that make it that even being equal under the law doesn't give these people the same opportunities because they're deprived of, access to things, because they don't have the generational wealth that allows them to do things that like other people can. And because you can't view white people and black people as a monolith, and obviously there are exceptions to this, like the reason white privilege as a concept exists is not every white person's life is better than every black person's life. It's if you are white, you will not face the things that black people face as writ large. That's what that means. And like their opportunities are not equal.
That's all true. I completely agree with you on everything, but I want to test you on that a little bit. Okay, so like how would you solve the downstream effects if we've already solved the legal problem?
Honestly, that's a really hard one. I have heard sympathetic arguments to reparations, but I think the backlash to that would be so bad that I don't know how you implement that. But
So,
yeah, like dumping money into communities, like trying to DEI, I think is a good one where it's like, hey, like we're taking into consideration your disadvantaged background, and even though we won't just hire you for no reason, like with no merits, this does matter that you came from like a poor area, or like there are things that you can do to rectify this. I have no idea how the fuck you fix it and undo it. And money, I don't even know if dumping money at it is going to fix it. So it's a hard one.
So if we had like perfect information and we could mathematically figure out exactly how much reparations each black person in America is owed in a dollar amount, if we had perfect information,
this wouldn't work either, right? Like, because let's say, like, you could say, look, if you did have the generational wealth, if you had your 12 acres and a mule at 1865, like, this is how much your great grandkids would have. You can't just dump like let's say it was $10 million. You give $10 million to right now a financially illiterate person in the ghetto. What the fuck is going to happen, right? Like maybe they'll get out of the ghetto, maybe they'll buy a nice house, but they could also be poor again.
Black people can manage money well?
I don't think poor people can manage money well in a lot of ways because they don't learn the financial skills that you learn from being around people who have access to money, who invest, who like have connections to like hedge funds. Like there are so many things that are not just if you dump money on it, it fixes it. There's lack of education. There's lack of like socialization that like you can't just shove money in this and say, yep, it's fixed now. And like that's why even reparations, it's like, what if we just gave money to the people who were directly affected? I don't even know if that would fix it. I think that could cause a lot more problems too, where it's like this, the money itself doesn't go to where it needs to go. And then what? So yeah, asking me to solve institutional racism. Sorry, I don't have.
I'm just picking your brain here and what you think.
Isn't the point that if your grandparents and great-grandparents were considered white in this country, they were on easy mode? They got to accumulate all this wealth while like a huge portion of the population was nerfed for all that time. And like not even nerfed just like as far as gathering resources, but about power, about voting, stuff like that. Like the entire country would be a different place if it. Can I ask a quick question to Tally? Do you think the Confederacy was a white supremacist project?
I don't think that every single person with affinity towards the Confederacy was necessarily.
Well, hold on. He's asking a very specific question. The Confederacy itself, do you think that was a white supremacy project?
Yeah, I think that could be accurately described as such.
Okay, and that probably went on. I mean, the KKK.
Hold on, I actually have to object to that for real. I actually have to object to that. Hear me out, okay? Yes. Okay, so
hear me out.
There is going to be a slight difference here, okay? The Confederacy was explicitly an anti-black project, not necessarily a white supremacist project. And I'll tell you exactly why I think that, okay?
This is like a pedophilia, pedophilia, dude. Like, come on. Like,
I know.
Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here?
An important distinction as well.
I was watching one of Kraut's videos from like 4 or 5 years ago, and I always read the books that he has in his reading list for that video because Kraut is one of the best liberal creators on the internet. One of the books, I can't remember what it was called, but it described what the Confederates wanted to do had they won, right? And what they basically their long-term plans for their project was to make a slave empire called the Circle that encircled the Gulf of Mexico. And it went down as south as Venezuela, and it was supposed to be like a union of whites and Latinos and anyone who really wasn't black, and the blacks were going to be all the slaves. So their long-term project was explicitly anti-blackness, not necessarily white supremacy.
Yeah, but if you're
Maybe
anti-black,
this was just defined as
implicitly,
white.
That is right here.
implicitly, one group is going to be superior, which is going to be
Well, he's
the white
including
people,
the
right?
Sure, but
Mexicans.
if that's only if you dichotomize the entirety of humanity as white and black and ignore like.
Also,
you know,
hi Butters, how's it going?
Hello.
Butter. Okay,
by the
Butter.
way,
Since
wait,
you're here, Butter. Since
Wait,
you're here,
Soypill,
what do you
real
got?
quick.
Oh,
So
go
Soypill,
ahead, go
Butters
for
is
it.
the guy who made the art that you objected to with the bulge. He's the culprit.
Oh, your little
Can't
bulgy-
believe you, Jason. I
okay,
can't
yeah.
believe you, Soypill. You're censoring my art.
I didn't
Like,
say it shouldn't
filthy,
exist. I'm
disgusting
just saying
art.
that's an interesting choice.
What what was this?
I have
Dev had a
when-
profile picture and he just had a huge fucking bulge in it, and it was distracting.
It was not huge. It was pathetically tiny.
Okay, well, you know
Thanks
what?
for that, by the way. I
We're not all
appreciate it.
gifted, okay, Butters? Okay.
$10 from Buttering
Um,
Politics, and I want to hear what Butters called in for.
On a more serious note,
Just real quick, let me make my money.
I'm
Let
gonna glaze a bit for a moment.
Yeah, hold on, Butters.
Oh, sorry.
Let me make my money, and then I'll pass you the
Sorry.
mic, okay?
All right.
$10 from Pondering Politics. By a show of hands, who on the panel supports court packet?
Yeah. All right,
I mean,
Josiah.
The
Spreading
answer is
gospel.
yes, obviously. I got
Only
into
by
some trouble for it
Democrats.
recently.
Hold on.
At Congress
Supporting
first.
Dev, supporting court
Yeah.
packing isn't what got you into trouble.
that's
That's
technically
not
true.
what
That's
got
true.
you into trouble. At least not the trouble I think you're referring to. Okay? Let's be clear. $5 from Rip Cripper. Imagine thinking Vance has any actual convictions at all. He's a for sale, self-serving loser, like all Republicans. Okay, thank you. And then $5 from Protest K. Tolly is an anti-DEI, which was very successful, but pearl clutching over anti-white racism. Also, can we abandon 2016 talking points? We are way past that.
This panel does feel like it's right out of 2018, though.
You know what?
It's kind of nostalgic in a weird sense.
Well, you know, we gotta do a flashback cinema sometimes. But okay, with that, Butters, you
But if
called
it were
in.
2018, I'd be arguing on the other side of the panel. So I'm glad
Okay.
that we're in 2026.
Okay,
Wait, what?
So,
Wait, you'd say it's
I'm gonna glaze you for a moment.
more of a
It's
problem
important
now
point
than
that
back
I
then?
want to kind of bring up, which
I was
is kind of
woke.
around nipping the problem of anti-white racism in the bud. So, obviously, despite a suspicious number of Canadians in this panel, you're mostly talking about the States. For anybody who's deaf, I'm from England, and here we've had some more significant issues with that. Last year we had the Sentencing Council, which is a non-departmental public body, so they're a part of the government, not a part of any specific district, but they are a government body, which came out with guidance which was literally white people should receive harsher sentences in the courts than black people as part of reparations. That was an actual policy that was pushed forward. It was thankfully lambasted by basically everybody, and they were forced to undo that guidance, and legislation is currently underway to outlaw that entirely. But that was like that is something that you can point to as actual systemic differences that are anti-white racism in action. Policies like that would absolutely destroy the left in this country if that had actually gone through. Even just the suggestion of it tanked Labour's support, tanked the Green Party's support, and it's part of the reason why reform is doing so well here. If you want the left to succeed in America, you do need to nip these problems in the bud. You cannot allow this to ever become an issue or ever be could you imagine if in these states they put forward guidance that said, hey, black people should have harsher sentences by law, like we suggest this.
Yeah, we just
than
do
white
it. We
people?
just do it
That happened,
anyway.
yeah.
Like,
We just got to do it. We just do it anyway,
Yeah,
kind of, and it is
I'm
bad.
just saying that,
But we don't have to
obviously.
put it in
Like,
words. We just do it.
You can't, like, imagine if that rhetoric was just allowed, though. That's something that you're allowed to talk about. If you've allowed the Overton window to kind of shift that far, like, you guys are completely fucked. Like, you cannot allow things to swing that far. You need to bring things to the sensible not sensible center, but like the sensible left.
I know what you're
but it
saying there,
sounds
Butters.
like-
Be careful.
Doesn't
Yeah.
it sound like I agree, obviously, if this stuff becomes more mainstream, you do nip it in the bud, right? But like, has it really ever? Like, it sounds like even when it's proposed as a law, literally everyone condemns this based on what you just said. I've never heard of this, but it sounds like everyone's like, no, that's
Um,
fucking stupid, right? And like, that's how it should be. Like, so it's not an issue. It
Just-
might
I
be
mean,
encroaching
well,
on becoming one
Jeremiah,
maybe in the
this
future.
This wasn't just like some fringe nobodies. This is the sentencing council in the UK. They actually advise. This is the body that advises how sentencing should be issued in the United Kingdom. They had to have like the Prime Minister kind of come in and like actually shut that down because the government itself was trying to push this forward.
What is that in America?
So,
Are
and
they
it-
like Congress people or like? help me.
I don't know enough about the American government to be able
Okay.
to give you.
The
a
Americans
one-to-one
don't have
answer.
anything equivalent to this. They don't
Is
have
this
like
like-
a guidance body that tells judges how to rule. They don't have that.
Is this an advisory body that made a suggestion that?
Yeah,
went
but that's
through
a
the
pretty
normal
bad
government
suggestion.
process?
Yes, but this is the advisory body that is in charge of these suggestions. Basically, that is like their
They
duty.
got shot down.
Yeah, but hold
they
on.
got-
body
Do you
itself
think it's
from the
okay
government.
if you had
overruled later.
if you had
And-
legislators in America suggesting to colleges that they should make it more expensive for black people to go there? Would you be like, well, they're just making a suggestion, so it's not a big deal?
It's not okay, but that's why we have a system of government so that people can put forth bad ideas and get struck down. You know, it's like only when it becomes like enacted that it's more of a problem in my mind.
Okay. Scorn
Sure, but, like, if
Scorn
let's
for I
say-
think $5 says love that Tali is anti-DEI. The Senate is the ultimate DEI, so we should abolish it. Yes. Also, I
Hell
hate
yeah.
all 2024 MAGA voters.
Nah, just pack it.
Pack the
Pack the
Senate.
That's a good quick question.
Yeah, you
What
just
is it-
add
what-
5 new states. Take
Tally,
some,
what is a white
abolish the
person?
filibuster. Every territory.
Or Dev? What's a
Sorry,
white
what?
person?
What's
What
a white
is
person?
Yeah.
Oh God, what's a black person?
Everyone is not
White
white.
person
No,
is
but-
someone who is perceived by most people as white. Like it's the people
Yes,
with
the boundaries are fuzzy
lighter
between races. We
skin.
understand this. Yeah.
I think Tali
Yeah,
just
wasn't
gave
this like-
probably the best explanation, unironically, and that's why Rachel Dolezal, until proven otherwise, was black.
transracialism is valid.
I'm saying that without a hint of irony. I think if everyone perceives you as black,
too.
you're basically black.
Hold on.
Me
Yeah,
too.
that's
So
pretty much
hold
true,
on,
yeah.
hold on. So if I made a
Haven't
V,
seen
if
him
I had
black.
never shown my face and I came in as a VTuber who was a
Yep.
black VTuber and everyone thought I was
Yep.
black,
Yep.
would it be morally okay for me to say the N-word?
Whoa. First of all, I didn't say anything about whether or not it was okay. I just said if everyone thinks you're black,
Do you think
and they
it's
treat
morally
you
okay
and they
for
treat you
black
like you're
people to say
black,
the N-word?
you're basically black because that's what race is, right?
Sure.
If no
Well,
one,
let me ask
let's
you the
say I
question.
was
Do you
half
think it's
black,
morally
right?
okay for black people
No one's
to
going to
say
treat me
the
like
N-word?
that. If it's morally okay,
Yeah,
I
is it
mean,
morally
yeah,
okay?
basically. I think
Okay,
honestly,
so my
it
question
would be
is,
a better world if
if
we
I was
didn't
perceived
enforce
as
these
black,
weird like racial
Would
hierarchies like
would
that.
it be
Kind of what
morally
Tali
okay
was
for me
saying,
to say
but
the N-word, even knowing I'm not?
honestly, if you could get away with it and everyone thought you were black and no one ever found out, which is impossible to enforce, so it's probably not okay. But let's just say in a hypothetical where no one ever found out, it's probably fine.
Okay, fair enough.
So as far
$5
as
from
they know, a black guy's saying the N-word. So
Sure. Durla Murje for $5 says the issue is that this thought crossed the mind of someone in charge of sentencing guidelines as a good idea, and public outcry was all that stopped it. Thank you for the $5.
I mean, listen. When it comes to the UK, Butters, I know that you love your country a lot. Your country's fucked when it comes to like
Oh,
these
yeah.
sort of crazy leftist issues.
Yeah.
And like this is why, by the way, I think that the Republicans have a good grift going where they will transplant UK issues into America and pretend that they're American. They're not, right? Like I know, Wick, you did a panel 4 or 5 days ago or something on the Henry Nowak killing in the UK, and there was definitely like an anti-white element in that story for sure. In a way that I don't think you would see in America, frankly. Does that sound right to you, Wick?
Yeah, no, I agree.
So I do think that like Britain's issues are not America's issues, and we can definitely go a little bit harder on anti-white racism in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I also think like mostly just speaking to the point that you and Wick made earlier, which is just because it's not as big of an issue doesn't mean that you don't need to nip it in the bud. You can't just allow that to fester because it will only get worse and worse.
Yep, I completely agree with that. Yeah.
And because it's bad in and of itself, right?
Yes,
Like,
yeah, of course. Yeah, of
it doesn't
course.
need to have like other negative downstream consequences for it to be bad. Yeah. Also, I think, Dev, I on the one hand, I completely agree with you. There's like a really cynical importation of UK news, basically, that especially like just the actual propagandists on Twitter like to blow up and to sort of incense Americans about. But I think there is, if I had to like steel man that the best, I think there are
Recycled.
people who look at trends in the UK as like, you know, being 5 or 10 years ahead of America. So I think there like, could be good reason why people are looking at other similar countries is the wrong word, but you know, that people look
Similar
to the
makes
UK
sense.
to see, okay, is this a right, exactly. So I think there are some people who are like in good faith have these concerns and make these parallels, but I completely agree with you that like the worst people on Twitter are just constantly not only
Well,
sharing these types of reports from the UK, but lying about them and exaggerating them and misrepresenting them.
See,
Yeah, speaking of lying about them,
well,
Butters, I
hold
just
on.
read an article on this thing, and it was not, let's give white people harsher sentences. It was, let's give extra consideration to people who have a historical background of getting longer sentences. And that might be two-tiered insofar as you're not giving the same consideration to white people, but it was not about, let's punish white people for being white, which is how you portrayed it. I think that was a huge misrepresentation.
That's the same effect, though. The same way, if you... Sorry, go ahead, Butters.
No, it's not.
Yeah, like the sentencing kind of came out to the same thing. I think it was actually framed as like give black people less sentences, but like if you flip the terminology, it's the same thing. Like as Tom said.
No. Because you're not doing anything different to the white people. Which, by the way, I still think this is bad. It is a two-tier justice
Yeah, I was
system.
about to say,
but it was
like,
not.
we don't see a
like,
problem of giving
yeah,
one race.
No. I still think
less
it's a
of a
problem. But the
sentence
way
than the
that that
other
was
based on
portrayed
race?
was, let's give white people worse sentences. That's not what this was. It was, let's treat white people as the same way we've been treating them for decades. However, for people who are historically getting sentences that might be longer than they should be, let's
Treat
give them extra
them
consideration. Yes, that is giving preferential treatment. That
Which is
bad.
the same
That
thing
is
as
a
treating white
two-tiered.
people worse. It's just a different order of the
No,
words in
that's
your sentence.
not, because you're not doing anything different.
Yes.
Okay, this is stupid because I don't even think this is
Right,
good.
but you're
what I'm
changing
saying
the
is,
sentencing guidelines, but only applying it to part of the population. Meaning,
specifically
for
population
this new
who is
sentencing, it is only white people who will get the harsher,
okay.
the harsher penalty.
Well, no, because you're not changing anything about the white people. Like, do you think affirmative action?
Exactly. So if you make
is
the other
giving
penalties
white
lighter, then
people
they are
harder
definitionally getting the worse sentences.
If it's the same sentences
Definitionally.
they otherwise
You
would have
change the
gotten, you're
standard.
not giving them worse. Worse
But
is
if you're
comparative.
changing
It's the same.
it is. If you're and it is comparative to the other group of people who committed the same crime
No, but
and are eligible for the same
their sentences were
conviction.
already worse. That's why this was being considered.
Right. And if you are amending the others, right, then theirs are better. And by comparison, as you just said, because you need a comparison here, relative to the non-white people, the white people would be getting worse sentences.
No, okay.
Even if that's
One
because
is
you amend the
already
sentence
worse.
structure.
Then they're giving preferential treatment to minorities. I don't think this is good.
Yes, we are
But
saying the
but
same
then they're
thing. You just
reducing these
refuse to
overly-
acknowledge that
no.
that does mean that the white
If you're
people
not
specifically
changing the
would
white
get longer
people's sentences,
sentences.
Hold on.
if anything,
Hold
it might
on.
be
Here.
bringing the minority
Let me
sentences
help.
on par
Let
with
me
the white
help.
people's sentences.
We're saying
not
the same thing.
necessarily
We're
both of
making
you,
refusing to
both of you,
acknowledge
both
how
of
this
you,
You're
both
negative
of you,
assuming
both
that
of
this
you,
is
both
going
of
to
you, both of
necessarily
you,
mean they
both
get
of you,
shorter
both of you, both
sentences,
of
and
you,
I don't
both
think
of
that's
you,
the
both
case.
of you, all of you. Okay, all okay. If I give each of my panelists $10 for coming on my panel, and I'm not. This is a hypothetical. You ain't getting paid shit. Okay.
Yeah, did you
$10
beg for money to go to
$10.
LibCon on Twitter
And then
today,
I
Wick?
decide, you know what? I think that we're going to start paying all the minorities who come on my panel $15
$20.
instead.
Oh,
Do
Wick's
you
racist.
think
I want to give him more.
that it would be fair to say that the white people who come on my panel are getting paid less?
Yes.
Okay.
This isn't.
So
this
why
is objectively true.
Why is it not similar to say and correct?
Because it's not the
to
same
s-
comparison at all. If you're saying there's a history where these minority groups are getting have a disparate outcome of sentencing, we want to address that by giving them preferential treatment. I don't necessarily agree with this. This is a two-tier justice system. However, to then portray this as white people are going to get harsher sentences, this is not even necessarily true. It could be true if they're getting shorter sentences now than the white people. But what's happening is you're saying these people are being treated worse because of their minority status in this implicit, societal view of these people. And we want to address that, but we're not going to give the same treatment to white people. That's the racist part. But saying white people are going to get harsher sentences is just not necessarily true.
It's going to be harsher now than in comparison to the other people. Yes, that's just
Wait,
a true
Well, hold on.
statement.
To Well, so no, sorry, Phil, hold on. What you just said is accurate. It is not necessarily true, right? It would have to actually be borne out in the sentencing. So to your point, yes, up until the point that you're actually making sentences, right? And it could be the case that actually when they do this type of special consideration for non-white groups, that they end up only bringing their sentences to equal with white people. So you're right, it would not necessarily have that impact. But what we are saying is that if it did have that impact, if the white person on average gets sentenced for 10 years, and after this special consideration, the black person gets sentenced for 5 years, then it would be completely accurate to say
Yep.
that white
If
people
if
are
that were the
getting a
case,
worse, are being discriminated against.
but it
in
didn't
this
even
way.
pass, so it would be inaccurate to say it.
Sure.
-5.
And by the way, this is like affirmative action, right? Like that is preferential treatment
is
to minority
wrong.
people. Do you think it's always wrong, Tolly? Like it was wrong when it was incepted?
Honestly, potentially, only because there was like the way that it was written, we never gave an endpoint to it, and so I think it created
Okay,
kind of the situation that we're in now. I think there were good
but you don't
ideas,
have a
but I
problem with
don't
it
know. I
in
don't.
concept. You have a problem with it depending on how long it goes. It sounds like.
No, I might. Well, no, I might have an issue with it. I've never sat here and thought about what I would have constructed in place of affirmative action. But no, I don't know that that was the best way to handle it. I think there were lots of good intentions. I understand why people thought that would be an appropriate response, but I don't know now that we've been able, especially now that we've been able to see it bear out. I don't know that that was the right way to handle it.
Okay, so it could have been handled better. I think we can both agree on that. But again, giving preferential treatment to people who have been locked out of society for 200 years, I don't think is that crazy. Now, again, especially in the justice
Sure.
system, I think this is bad. Like, I don't agree with what the UK was trying to do here, but I don't think it is even close to anti-white racism. I think it is, at worst, misplaced solutions to a real problem.
10,000.
Sure, but they sometimes manifest as as prejudice
Okay.
and bias against
gonna
white
read these
people.
two
Hold
super
on.
chats.
We have a
By
black
definition
wait,
discriminatory.
wait. We have a black voice in the panel now.
Yes,
If
but
there's
let me
two.
read
Oh,
these super
everyone's got
chats
your
because
white
money
ass
is
out.
more
We already
important than
had
skin color.
25%.
Hold on, money is
black
more
voice.
important than any of your skin colors. Okay, green is the color I care about. I'm gonna read these super chats and I'm gonna give it to single player Carl to have his say. Okay. $5 from Testicle Johnson to say the rare Tolly soy pill bridge build. Rachel Dolezal is black. True. $2 from Antelope to say Butters. We disembowel Wicker in your absence.
Wow.
Okay.
Butters,
$5
you gotta
from
come
single
back.
player Carl. Please let me in. I will field that question right now. Holy, they asked it in such a soy way. Well, you're in
Oh
now.
my God, Carl's here.
$5 from Hell's Pacifist. If you get one plate of food and someone else gets half a plate, then we give that person a full plate and you also get a full plate. It's equality. Sure, but that's not what we were talking about here. $5 from Airborne Cart. Money is scarce and zero sum, but there isn't a fixed amount of jail time to be shared across all criminals. Not the best comparison. Not true. We do have limited space in jail cells, so yes, we have to limit and ration in some case. It's not infinite. $5 from Durla Marge to say this is in context where the UK will give 5-year sentences to mean social media posts for whites and less than 3 for immigrants who force minors. I don't know if that's true, but thank you for the $5. Okay, single player Carl. We're gonna listen and learn. Okay.
Yeah. Have you kept up with the rape gang cases in the UK? It's a wild story.
My brain hurts, and I don't like people who keep telling me that, bro, what, can you just have them ask you the question of whether or not 9 is a child? And I can't. I want to go back into Fed work at this point now because I don't think my job's done. Anyways, I came in at the exact point where I was talking to OFUX and the panel decided to snipe the question of what is black. I'm going to ask you a series of questions. First, what delineation do you mean when you say black?
Wait, what?
Earlier, when you were asking the question of is Rachel Dolezal black, and then you asked the question of what is black actually? I'm asking you, what do you define as black?
Me specifically, or the whole panel?
Everybody, the entire panel.
Oh,
the
if
entire
you,
panel.
I think you're black if I'll be brave. I think you're black if you look black.
Pretty good definition. Most people would accept that.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
Now, Dev, I know you know that when
It's
there
more
are
of like,
people
yeah,
saying
if most of society thinks you're black, you're pretty much going to be black insofar as everyone will treat you that way.
What if it depends on
But like this is also belying that, like, obviously there are things in like black culture that if Wick decided to somehow like turn black today, he would not have these histories. He would not have these experiences. And it would be kind of weird to say you're black insofar as like, yeah, everyone's going to treat you like you are. And yet you
Hold
are
on,
missing a
Soypil,
lot of that
You're doing the
context.
anti-trans argument right now, so.
Oh, no. Let him keep doing this. He is actually
No,
about to answer. You're actually answering the exact question I was about to say. You should have let me speak, Soypil. So I was about to say, Dev, you and
No,
I
I
both
actually
know.
don't even disagree with that, Tali. I think that, yeah, even if trans women are women, like they are lacking a certain upbringing of the woman experience. That doesn't make them not
Male
women, but there is a
socialization.
having a male
Negative
socialization.
15,000
you are
reputation with
missing
the
the longest-
Ardos.
No, this is just like demonstrably true. Like this doesn't make you not black insofar as everyone's going to treat you like you're black, but you also are missing a lot of cultural markers that a lot of black people in America would have. In the same way, like a Nigerian immigrant is black, but if he comes to America, he's not going to fit in with all the black people who might have a different experience and upbringing. And to say what is black or what is a black culture is completely like obfuscating the fact that like, yeah, everyone is going to have different backgrounds. So
that's what
I
that's
agree.
the
I
next
think
question.
to kind of like emphasize your point,
I
Soypil.
don't know, sorry.
I'm never gonna win this fight, but like I think the use of black and white in America to describe like groups of people is just so fucking useless. It's starting to infect the UK and the our lexicon now. But, like, there's a huge difference when you say like black culture in America versus like black
Real,
culture
just
in the UK
just
or
wait,
black
Butters.
culture
Just
in
wait.
Africa.
Just wait.
I wanna-
Dre, do you have to leave?
No, I wanted something to say. I wanted something.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought you
because I
had to
feel
leave.
like what is
Yeah.
black? I know at the beginning of the panel, Tally said, "Dre, I thought you were black," and like,
Well, Dev
so
is
here's
a white
my-
knight, making sure that the black man.
Yeah,
can
yeah.
speak
How
to
how
his
what
experience.
percentage of black are you again, Dre?
barely.
25, baby.
You said that you were a quarter black.
I'm a quarter black. Here's the thing. My dad is black and Asian mixed. My mom is white. My dad's parents were immigrants. Like my dad's mother is from Africa, I think Ethiopia or Eritrea, around like that part of the world. And I'm not black American as like I grew up in a
You're
black
not
American
ADOS.
neighborhood. I'm not ADOS. No, I'm not ADOS at all. I grew up in a black American neighborhood with my single white mother. Right? I was around black American culture. Growing up, I looked like a regular white kid, like had white white style hair. I don't now, but like again, am I black? I don't really fucking know. My name is Dre, so I mean,
Oh,
it's a
well,
stereotypically black name.
allow me to
Yeah,
still you.
Single
You're
player
black.
Carl, is Dre black?
Thank you, Carl.
You're black. You don't want to know why? This is why I said Soypil's doing the thing, and I want him to keep doing it. Dev, you and I both know there's a terminology that gets used amongst the cornbread tubers that they call politically black. So when somebody asks you are you black? And let's say they call you something like, a raccoon, but without the rack. You know that that's a word that they use to call somebody who's a race traitor, right? And therefore, if that person's not politically black enough, then they can have their social blackness stolen from them, like that Trump meme about him, Biden meme, about him taking your blackness from you the moment that you disagree with them. As in, if you don't support me, you're not black. You're not for
Okay,
black
new
issues.
poll in chat.
There's
Is Dre black? Okay, let me set this up.
There was that one famous clip from years ago on Hippy Dippy where there was a black guy who was a socialist who called an Asian man white presenting Nazi activist.
I remember Joe Lewis. That's our boy,
And it's like, this
Joe.
is the most fucking ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life.
God.
Also,
So-
sorry for cucking you, Butters. I'm sorry for cucking you.
Don't ever apologize for cutting him. So
Well, it's
I
fine.
call in.
We all know that you're getting cooked every night, so it's fine.
Oh, thanks.
Indeed,
Thanks, pal.
you're good. So I called in specifically because the entire issue here, I'm going to hit you with a wild take. You need to look at African Americans the same way you should look at religious ethno groups like the Jews. And the reason why is because cultural blackness precedes genetic blackness. I'm pointing at you, just imagine a black finger pointing at you, Dre. He was raised with probably not any amount of Afro-Korean culture in his home, okay? If I said the words to you, there were no mirrors in my nana's house, do you know what that means, Dre?
I actually don't.
That's good. That's fine. That's good. That's fine. But if I was to put you on a drum line and you spent all your time in band, hypothetically, you spent all your time in band, you were a drum line leader, you were with the majorettes, you did the work, you did the polls, and every single one of those people on that drumline lead, black, said things like, why is white chocolate here? You ain't got no soul in your step. And then everybody on the front line at the football game said, don't have white cocoa! He earned his place! Even
Hey.
better than chocolate.
Take it from a 10 to like a 6, buddy. Like you're
No,
That was-
blowing
that was
out
like
the
five.
mic, okay?
Wick, you
That was
can't
like
tell black
five.
people to be quiet. That's racist.
I have been
But no,
I've been called white cocoa, white chocolate before, and
derogatorily or in the social sense, the same way African American men and women use the word nigga.
kind of both. It depends on like the.
It depends on the
different
context.
settings.
Have you ever
Yeah,
said
it
the
de-
N-word? Dre?
Absolutely.
No, Dre.
not
Dre,
in-
have you said the N-word?
Not in the sense.
Dre,
like,
don't lie. It's okay. Everyone has said the N-word. Dre, please don't lie right now. It's okay. It's okay.
I've said it.
Okay.
I'm,
You can
yeah,
still
yeah,
you can
whatever.
still get to heaven. Yeah, it's
Babies
okay.
haven't
Don't
said
say it
it.
on stream.
I would go so
When I
far
was
even
in
that you
when I
have
was
to
in
say the
5th
word.
grade, our teacher asked us if we knew any slurs. And I did. I got sent to the principal's office. It was a bad day. You don't ask a 5th grader if they know any slurs. They'll tell you.
Yeah, that's
They'll
not-
share
that's
the
not
ones
fair.
that they know. I was answering the goddamn question. I'm still salty about it today, okay? I am still it was like one of those fucking Cornerstone or like that was like one of those what's the
Your
Spider-Verse?
villain origin.
Core
story.
memory.
Canon event.
Core
Canon
memory.
event.
Yeah, it's
Core
a
memory,
canon
canon
event
event.
It made
to
you
me.
hate authority.
Exactly. I was in. My teacher asked the class. We were talking about racism, and they asked us like, "Do you guys know any slurs?" And I did, and I wanted to answer the question because I was an attentive student, and I answered the question. I just rattled them off. Boom, 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 and I got in trouble. And now I'm. They
wrong.
tricked me. Okay.
Set up for failure on
I
that.
apologize. I apologize.
To be fair,
I
did she
apologize.
say the slur, or did she just ask if you knew?
She asked
them?
if we knew
She asked
them,
if we
and
knew
I
'em.
did, but I was answering the question. Okay.
Yeah, he was being an A+ student. I apologize,
Yes.
Uhuru. I'm giving you back your credit, Wick, from me to you.
I mean, look,
it's
he was just
legitimate.
evidencing it.
But yeah, the point I'm trying to get
Anyone can
across.
say it, but like, can you prove?
I
it
mean,
to
I
them?
would argue that you shouldn't as well. You should say it. It is Nigga. Soft A, long G. Say it with me. Nigga. Just like San Andreas.
The issue
Nigga.
is I'm English, so my
It
hard
does
A
sound
Well,
good.
you
when you say it.
We're not saying that on
you
this
can't
panel,
say it.
right?
You
We're too
can't
white.
say it
I'm
because
All of
you'll
us
go,
are
you'll
too
get
white.
I
arrested.
don't work that way.
But my point
When you
stands.
sing it like that, it is nice.
Well, that's the inherent racial bonus, right?
Okay,
Plus
okay,
plus 10
enough.
Wait, hold on.
Enough.
Wait,
Anyways,
Butters.
Jeff.
Butters. Can't you say gusano?
There are lots of words that I can. Oh no, I can't. I'm not fucking Cuban, you fucking idiot.
I'm Cuban.
Wait,
I can
hold
say
on. Aren't
Gusano.
you?
No, I'm Chilean.
Oh, sorry.
Wow.
Irish.
You don't
It's
even
not
know
even
the
close.
difference?
Listen,
Chilean,
it's somewhere.
Cuban,
It's somewhere
these are-
down there.
They
I don't
start
know.
with C, but they're different countries. Okay.
Indeed. But anyways, the
come
point
on.
I'm trying to get across here is that this is a myriad of a worm that anybody can open up because it gets used as a way to shut down black people. Because allegedly, let's use Rachel Dolezal. Is she black? Yes. Why? Because she has black genetics and also was culturally black. And then she opened an OnlyFans after she lost her NAACP job. But blackness, it's not something that you've done the action once, therefore you're black. It's something that you're always recontextualizing, like education and learning.
What do you mean she has the genetics?
Isn't she
She's
white?
she's part black, part white.
Oh,
Was
she
she?
actually? I thought she wasn't at all
Which
part
of those
black. That was
I'm
like the
not sure.
whole
Both
controversy.
their parents are white. Both their parents are white. Both their parents are white. All their
Yeah,
parents
her
are white.
family, her
It's pretty
kids are
white.
black. She very intentionally she chose blackness, unironically. Like to say that like with sincerity, she chose blackness. She feels, and this is the thing too, like unironically, I completely believe her when she says she has this like deep affinity ever since she was little for black people and black culture. Like I think she's probably being honest and sincere about that, but I don't think she's African
Actually, wait, hold on.
descended in any way.
Real quick, is Talcum X black?
In the way in which she tries to ape the
I don't
culture,
think he's
maybe.
gotta be
But I
even
don't
less
think
Are you talking about
genetically
Sean
he's black.
King?
Yes,
Yeah,
she's talking
Talcum
about
X. Yeah,
Sean
Sean
King.
King.
I mean, I think he's got black
I heard
genetics,
stuff
yeah.
that he's not actually black either, but apparently he is at least like he's like Dre black.
Okay, name the top 3 fake black people. Go.
Talcum X, probably
Yeah, definitely
Rachel
Sean
Dolezal
King is
in a
up
general
there.
sense.
What's
Somebody
he doing
else.
Justin
now?
Trudeau, obviously.
I mean, come on, Dev. Come on now. Katy Perry's working her magic on him, okay? She's getting all the blackness out of his body, one step at a time.
Okay, enough of this.
Anyways,
Gang. I think it's 9 o'clock. I'm done. I hope you guys
Oh shit!
enjoyed the show.
I thought Butters had something else to say before we go.
Oh, does Butters have something else to say? Make it good, Butters.
I think I started saying it in different community, so I guess just like I think that I'm never going to win this battle in the States because it's too culturally ingrained. But the use of white and black to describe groups of people, I think, is incredibly useless. I think that it muddies and like merges so many different cultures into just the same package. If you look at a black Arab versus a black African, they are completely different cultures, completely different people. But in the States, in a lot of these conversations, we just say black, or we look at, Germans and the English, and we say white. Whereas, if you put a German and an Englishman in the room, they're not going to get along. They're not part of the same culture.
Well, Americans kind of have a fucked view of ethnicity in general, so
yeah.
Yeah.
I do not claim
We
this
have the
energy.
correct view.
I am culturally awakened.
Okay. Jan, for $5, says, I'm more concerned that the racists have all the guns and are easier to convince that they have to protect our future or have to return to get laid. $10 from Mr. E. We literally have sundowns in this country while having race realist as a congressman while taking voting rights taken away. $5 from Scorned. Or I'm sorry. We already read that.
You don't want to read it again?
No. $5 from... Oh, we already read that too. Oh, $2 from Airborne Kite. If you voted for Biden, thank you for the $2. And then $5 from AKA Batozide with the emoji. Thank you for the little monocle emoji. I appreciate that. Okay, gang, what do we got? So first of all, if you've enjoyed this show, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. We do shows like this all the time. I just confirmed, okay, just as hot off the presses, okay, that I will be going to LibCon in July. So check us out there. It'll be me, Kyla, Destiny. There'll be a whole bunch of people there. I'm not going to speak there, but I will be there. So if you want to shake my hand or say hi or meet your hero, now's a chance. And it should be great. They got some great speakers. David French is going to be there. Kathy Young, a whole bunch of liberals. And we're talking about liberals, not progressives, liberals. So
hey, I'm a progressive. I'll be there, Wick.
Are you going to be there? Are you going to come in?
Yeah.
We're going to hang out?
Wait, who got you a ticket?
I asked for someone to pay for my ticket, and they got me a ticket.
We need
You
a
can
liberal
afford a ticket?
progressive alliance.
Yeah, I'm an e-girl like that. I could hey, do you guys want to buy me a ticket? And they're like, okay. They bought me a ticket.
Well, fucking yeah.
I really
True.
want the
I
new
didn't have to
game.
show any
Look for
cleavage,
Wick TV
right?
only on OnlyFans.
I have a very liberal time at LibCon.
It will be fun. It'll be fun. So check that out. So next week, I want to do a show on the Iran war, and I'm looking for people who think we won the Iran war. If that's you, reach out to
Good
me.
fucking luck.
I'm trying, okay?
Try to
I
go-
know
try
they're
to
out
go
there.
to-
I see them
It's gonna
tweeting.
be like Jack Posobiec or no one. I don't know if there's anyone out there who's gonna make that argument.
Get some of the MAGA
Might be able
people.
to find some Iranians who believe that position.
Gunther Eagleman, what's his name? The MAGA guy. Get him.
Gunther Eagleman.
The guy
Look,
who's
they wanna
posting
come on
Greta
my show, I'll
Thunberg
have him.
AI OnlyFans content? Yeah, let's listen to him.
He's probably the
I'll
only
have
guy.
him on
the
the
guy
show
that-
if he wants to come on. Okay, but
Like the
anyway,
guy that-
we're also going to do
Yeah.
some other shows. And if you have ideas, and if you say, hey, Wick, why are you talking about this when you should be talking about X? Tell me what you want to hear, and we can maybe make a panel
True.
on it. It should be fun. So do that. We're going to got some great shows coming up next week. Tomorrow, I'm probably going to take off. I love you guys, and bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
My friend.